wet part of the racetrack. Hello, everybody. My goodness me, it's been a long summer break, but we are back in business once again. The Grand Prix Virtual World Championship is back in action once again here for the Hungarian Grand Prix. It is the halfway point of the season, and we are ready for the 11th round of the 2018 WTF1 GPVWC Superleague. I'm Jake Sanson. Beside me is David Carter, and we are getting ready for what promises to be a gripping second half of the season. It's been a very one-sided start to the season in some cases. Obviously, we're looking back to the fact that with 5 wins from the first 10 races, Alex Siebel holds the championship lead. But after a retirement last time out at the German Grand Prix, where we saw a very impressive 1-2 for the Edge Esports boys, Jarl Tyne and Petter Burlak, it's going to be a very exciting next half of the season. And David, there have been some very interesting developments since we took our summer break.
There has been indeed. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Obviously, I've taken a break from my Academy Series duties, so I'm stepping in for this round. But there has been a number of changes and developments since the summer break has happened. So, for example, we've got a few driver changes in as well. So, Yannick Bock has taken over from Tom Parker. So, Tom Parker has stepped down from his role. He's now third driver. And now Yannick Bock has replaced him now for the foreseeable future. It looks like to the end of the season. And then there's been a few other driver changes elsewhere, particularly at Red Archer. There's been a bit of chaos there. It looks like Salsa Ferreira is he's replaced. Looks like Angeloni in his car. And there was another driver as well that he's replaced as well, which I can't remember now off the top of my head. I have to.
Well, it looks like the second car in Red Archer, yes, is Fran Lopez. That's a big move because, of course, he was the driver in at Adonis Engineering at the start of the season. So a change in teams mid-year, that is a very interesting development for someone as big name as Fran Lopez, David. I wonder what's prompted the change.
You don't know these days. I mean, there's so much sort of... like in the real world, there's so much sort of talks behind the scenes and teams sort of having relationships with each other and stuff like that. It's been a few moves, as you just said there, Jake.
There's a couple of very interesting ones coming into this round of the championship as well, because we've got another couple of movers. The most high-profile one has got to be over at Street Fighter, because Ben Horrell's teammate for this weekend at the Red Bull Street Fighter team is not Florian Gaia. Now, that is particularly interesting because replacing him is the very talented Croatian David Francic, but I don't think many people expected to see Flo Gaia stand aside for a race. Have we already seen the very last time we're ever going to see him in a Red Bull Street Fighter?
You're not sure, because I think out of the 2 drivers this season, I think Gaia has had the better season for sure. And if anyone was going to be I mean, if it was me, I'd say Horrell would be the one to step down because he hasn't really performed so far. But Frankic is a very high-profile signing for the team. They need to step up their performances. Obviously, got to impress their sponsor, as Frankic has just driven to the wall there, as I say that. But Red Bull and Street Fighter, they won't be impressed by the way they've gone this season, and they needed to do something. Get some high-profile signing, which they've done. And they'll be looking for at least a points finish this weekend, I would have thought.
Now, I've seen a very interesting thing happen there in practice. I don't know if something is basically one of these interesting maneuvers during a practice session is allowed to carry over into the race. But I've seen some dodgy dealings out on the track during the practice session ready ahead of qualifying. And that is young Luke Browning, who's making his debut this weekend, who is actually taking over at the Storm team to make his Super League debut, has just had Tobias Olsen drive into the side of him at turn 1. I'm just watching the replay now. Olsen was on a flying lap, and obviously Luke Browning coming out of the pits, trying to stay out of everybody's way. But because Olsen is obviously arriving at the scene of the incident, he's run wide and then steered his car deliberately into Browning's out of frustration and anger. Now, that surely is not legal. I'm not entirely sure what the ruling is going to be for that. So I don't know what is something like that happens in a practice session able to carry over. I don't know, but obviously some frustration. So I have a feeling that Tobias Olsen, that could well be investigated. Very interesting. But yeah, we were talking about David Francic taking over at the Red Bull Street Fighter team. Very interesting to see him, Flo Gaia, standing aside for another driver. He is obviously one of the drivers we expected to be at the front end. Over at Mad Cape, there is a change as well. Dan Brewer has come into the team for this round of the championship. And obviously the other man we were going to talk about there, Luke Browning, who is making his debut in Super League tonight for the Storm Racing team. And a lot of people will know the name Luke Browning, of course, if they watch the British Touring Car Championship package, because Luke Browning is currently fighting for the Ginetta Junior Championship in the United Kingdom and has had 6 wins over the course of this season, although by Monday it could well be 7 if his High Court decision for a victory that he took at Alton Park earlier this year is overturned. And that will mean he'll be leading the Ginetta Junior Championship if that is the case. So nice to have a professional real-world racing driver taking place in the WTF1 GPVWC Super League as well. And that is a sign of the times, David. We're seeing a lot of incredibly talented drivers, not just in the sim racing world, but in the real world, taking on these sim racing challenges as well.
They do, and it's not just here at WTF1 Super League that they do that. Obviously, all over sim racing, you do see that now. And for a lot of the real drivers, they actually use this as obviously practice for the real races that they do. And they see it as more than just obviously the business and their career. They see it as the hobby as well.
So,
see things like Verstappen a few years ago.
Yes,
he signed up to the sim racing team a few years ago as
and
well.
Lando
And that's
Norris,
just one example. Yeah,
Lando Norris as well. Fantastic to see some of the real world racing drivers getting involved. The light goes out at the end of the into our 15 minutes qualifying session here at the Hungaroring, one of the most beautiful racetracks in the world and the only Formula One circuit other than Silverstone that I have walked every single inch of. It is an amazing facility, a wonderful place to go motor racing, and an absolutely sensational Grand Prix we're going to have, especially at this stage of the season when we know that obviously just 1 year after the team's man, Rudy Van Buren, was able to go out and dominate, ACR Zach Speed have another man to win the championship in Alex Siebel. It started raining. Now, we were not expecting rain this weekend. We were not expecting to see rain here at the Hungaroring, but it is raining. You can quite clearly see that on the stream. Now, that has definitely thrown a spanner in the works. Now, obviously, we're using a real-world weather system. We were not predicted rain. Now, that is a real turn up for the books here, David. That is going to take an absolute lottery out of this qualifying session.
It is, and if I was the driver, just get your lap in quick, because that is if it's anything like the race it's yesterday, race 2, it will get very wet very quickly indeed.
It's already doing it. Look at it. It's absolutely torrential, the downpour.
So the rain percentage at the moment, 33% rain. So for people who do know Rfactor 2 well, that is raining fairly heavily, and the track will get very wet very quickly. So people who's on a lap now, they're going to get the best of it, because
no wonder we had so many people coming out of the pits in one go, because they suddenly realized there's a good chance of rain, and every single one of them is out on the circuit now. Well, there is not going to be one bone dry lap, is there? Not a single one. So it's basically going to be about whoever can get the fastest lap out of this run of laps. This is absolutely unbelievable. We genuinely didn't expect that there was going to be rain out there on the circuit. So this is an absolute, well, I don't know what to describe this as, really. There's a few people who have gone out, have already binned it and had an off, and have now come back into the pits. It looks like there's going to be quite a few big names who are down at the back, and Luke Browning has spun it. So too has one of the Adonis cars has gone off. I think that, well, I was going to say Fran Lopez. I'm so used to seeing him. No, it's Ernjovski, the Macedonian, who went off there. So we're going to see the first flying laps going through as Jarl Tyen gets a proper little squiggle on behind him, and there's another spin elsewhere behind him. So this is absolute carnage in this qualifying session as drivers try to get their laps in. Ricardo Costa spins on his flying lap. And I think we're going to start to see those laps. Risto Capi, there's a 1:22.7. And look, the spray is coming down the straight. There is not going to be a faster lap than this. Siebel has got round in a 1:21.9. I'm not sure anyone's going to beat that. Kasdorp's come through in a 1:23.1. Tyan in a 1:23.6. Dennis Jordan in a 1:23.8. Then it's Ayres, Francic in the Street Fighter. Then it's Burlak, Right Kilk, Fran Lopez, who's 3.2 seconds back in 10th position. A spin.
Oh, it's chaos.
It's absolute carnage. Ben Horrell has just gone through at the first corner, and so too is David Francic.
Spinning the
car. Oh, yes. There
and
is
Lopez
indeed.
As well. It's been an instant there as Horrell tried to get on the power there.
Yep, Lopez and Horrell have hit each other in the qualifying session because they've got no grip on these ultra soft tyres. This is an absolutely disastrous situation for anybody who's not getting out. 13th at the moment is Yannick Bock, who's just done a 1:28.6. And it's absolutely 6 seconds off the pace. Bruno Sousa Ferreira's done his first flying lap, and that's a 1:31.7. That's 10 seconds off the pace. He goes into the first corner and spins it. Just got absolutely no grip. This is going to produce an absolutely crazy grid other than the front row.
Yeah, I'll say, well, the people who haven't set a lap, they can enjoy having the back of the grid start because, it's as you say, there's no chance of doing any fast laps at all now. They've had the best of it, and unless people have spun on their lap, that's the only chance they've got of setting a quick time at all. Like Celso Ferreira done a 31.7, he's in 16th, and he's facing backwards out of turn 1 as well. So
yeah, look, everybody's coming into the pits. Everybody's done their flying lap. They're coming into the pits. There's no point being out there again. This is going to be a very long qualifying session as round and around goes Petar Burlak, the Croatian. He spun it out of turn 13, I think that is. Absolute disaster for everybody out there. The only people who got a semi-decent lap were Alex Siebel and Risto Capit, and they came out pretty much straight away. Now, the grid is basically set now from these first flying laps. Everybody else is now going out there on intermediates and wets to get an understanding of the circuit because, you know, their qualifying lap is done. They're not going to be able to go any faster, even on the intermediates or the wets. So now this is all just set up for the race.
it is, and two drivers who've been badly affected you would expect to see at the front who haven't set a lap time yet is Costa and also Boya Milan. Because Boya Milan, I think he sped in the pit lane or did some dodgy in the pits, and he had a drive-through or stop-go penalty. So he had to come in, do his penalty, and then go back out again, which has completely wrecked his session. So
Very
that's
true.
two drivers there you expect to be up there, and they're going to have to start right in the mid-pack or the back of the grid as a result.
Yeah, Borja Milan's going to have to do an awful lot of work to make his way through. Just an absolutely appalling turn of events from their point of view. Well, let's have a look and see what the grid is going to look like. Only Siebel and Capit really got a relatively decent flying lap in there, and that is once again proof of their quality. Siebel and Capit will start the two ACR Zaxbeans on the front row of the grid. Absolutely incredible. Apparently, we're told purple sector at the third sector for Dan Brewer. So Dan Brewer was able to get a relatively quick third sector out of it, but what an amazing turn of events this is going to give us now. Siebel from Risto Capit. Yuri Kasdorp is going to be third. That's an amazing qualifying performance from him, and he'll be really happy with that, to be fair. Jarl Tyan in fourth position. Dennis Jordan fifth from Michael Ayres. He'll be delighted with sixth position on the grid, as will the flag-to-flag team. They'll be delighted with that. Francic will be seventh. I think that's got to be... Is that not the best starting position for a Red Bull Street Fighter all year?
Yeah,
seventh
that is.
position. That's going to be a very big smile on the face from the Aussies. Petar Burlak in eighth position. Right Kilk in a very strong ninth in that brand new liveried Eval car. And Dan Brewer in 10th position in his first race of the season. Whereas David Fidek, now he's one who's definitely going to be strong in these conditions when the race gets underway. He is currently looking at 11th on the grid. So don't rank David Fidek out of this, Dave. I think he's going to be right up there for a challenge for the podium.
I do as well. If the weather stays like this, then for sure. But the big thing is you also got to consider how much practice that they've done in the wet weather with these cars. Because the race yesterday, for example, Super Cup, race 2, it was dry all through practice. And as soon as race 2 practice came, it started to absolutely pour with rain. Everyone had a dry setup on the car. So it may be very, very similar for these guys as well.
Now, another interesting question here. Who is going to be Borja Milan's teammate? Because we are not entirely sure. There's only one of the radical-backed machines for Team Epic Racing out there at the moment. The second car is not out there. There's a rumor going around that Jeff Fournier will not be in the car. Now, tell us more about this, Dave.
Well, Fournier had a back of the grid penalty, as an incident just happened in the pit lane with Rfactor, actually got taken out in the pits.
Oh, yes,
but
he did.
Jeffrey Fournier got a back of the grid penalty now. He was in the server when we started qualifying, and then he left the server. So I haven't heard any rumours or any confirmation yet, but Fournier's left the server as soon as the rain came down.
So is that going to be him coming back when the race is due to start, or is somebody else going to be taking his position? Because I think you can substitute a driver in right at the last minute, can't you? I'm trying to figure out what the ruling is on this. But Fournier started the qualifying session and then left as soon as the rain fell down, so I don't know I'm not entirely sure what the state of play is on that one. Now, interestingly, Erhan Yayovski has just gone out and set a 1:28.7. Now, that's a pretty handy lap, actually, and that's only 6 seconds off the pace of the fastest lap done by Alex Siebel. Now, that's on wet tyres, obviously. I think he's on intermediates he's done that. So a 6.7-second deficit is actually not bad going, considering how wet it is. And that has displaced Luke Browning, Dino Paolini, and Bruno Sousa Ferreira. So they're down to Paolini 21st, Sousa Ferreira 22nd, and Browning 23rd in front of Olsen, Milan, and Hoekstra. So that's going to be an interesting grid. But of course, there are 2 cars who are missing. One of the Epics, which we think is going to end up being Jeff Fournier. And I'm trying to figure out which is the other car. I think it's... No, I was going to say it was one of the evals, but both of them are there for Right Kilk and Argo Tida. So there is another team that is missing.
Street Fighter?
It could be David Francic, actually.
Actually,
no, Francic is 7th. Francic is 7th and Horrell is 17th.
That's fine.
So we're trying to figure out who it is. Both the Nordsians are there. Both the Mad Capes are there. Evolution Motorsport. Both of those cars are there because we've got Dennis Jordan in 5th and Yannick Bock, who's taking over from Tom Parker for the remainder of the season, we believe. There in position. There is a flag-to-flag missing, we're told. So it's Mark Hutchinson's teammate. And a Storm Racing, apparently. So Meadow Clont has come in for Storm Racing now as the 27th car on the grid. So the flag-to-flag team... Oh, no, both the flag-to-flags are there. My apologies. Michael Ayres and Mark Hutchinson are there in 6th and 15th, respectively. So it was the Storm that was missing of Menno Clont. Now, I know for a fact that Menno has obviously been working behind the scenes with young Luke Browning. They've been improving work, and Luke was obviously part of the Downforce Racing team originally in Formula Challenge as a test driver, got an opportunity to race in the academy and was fast straight out of the blocks. He's made his debut in Super Cup, but he really wanted, now that he's got a little bit of time off, he's actually finished his GCSEs and has now got until October before he goes back to college of doing practically nothing from now until then, other than his Ginetta Junior campaign in the real racing world. So he wanted to do as much track time in anything he possibly could as was possible. So he's obviously found his way into the Storm Racing team for this debut race in Super Cup, in WTF1 Super League. So this is going to be a really exciting battle for him. But he has set some qualifying laps, as has a couple of the other newbies. Yannick Bock, of course, has done a 1:28.6. Not a bad run from him. How are the other super subs doing? Well, Dan Brewer did a 1:24.7 in qualifying. Very good work indeed from him. And as was already picked up, he was fastest of all in that 3rd sector. So really good from Dan Brewer. Who else is worth a quick punt? Well, obviously, David Francic has done very well in the Street Fighter in 7th position, 2.4 off the pole. This is going to be a really intriguing grid, Dave, as we've got all sorts of things happening.
There is, and some of the guys who actually struggled when it started raining, they actually improved their times and positions. So, for example, Costa, who's near the back, he's up to 13th now. So that's a really good effort considering how wet it is out there. He's on the intermediates at the moment as well. Chris Butcher, he's also in a Hawkeye actually for this race. He's the reserve driver there. He's done a lap on the wet tyres. He's in 19th and 27.9. So there's still people actually still setting best sectors and improving their lap times at the moment. The rain is still coming down here. Track now 90% wet, so it's absolutely, well, it's almost horizontal at the moment.
That is a good point about Chris Butcher. I had forgotten the fact that he is now going to be partnering Costa at Hawkeye for this round of the championship. So that's very interesting from his point of view. Jeff Fournier has now rejoined the server, so he will be our 28th man in. I don't think he's going to go out and set any qualifying laps, though. Really exciting battles here at the WTF1 Super League from the Hungaroring. If you've just joined us, good evening. You are going to be in for an absolutely spectacular battle. Jake Sanson and David Carter in the commentary box for you here on YouTube and on the WTF1 Facebook stream, of course, as well, which is now, of course, very proud to announce that we have had over 250,000 viewers for WTF1 Super League via the Facebook page, which is absolutely fantastic. It's great racing. It's exactly how we want Grand Prix racing in the sim racing world to be. And the racing has been absolutely fantastic all season. For those who are trying to play catch-up in this second half of the season, a quick run-through. Jeff Fournier was our first race winner in Australia, fresh out of the blocks for the brand new team, Epic Racing, to get their first win on their debut. And Jeff Fournier in only his 6th start in WTF1 Super League. Really was spectacular. Risto Capit picking up the victory in China, and then the Alex Siebel train started banzaiing. Baku and Catalunya, a pair of victories there before a win from Jarl Tyen in a very intriguing Monaco Grand Prix. Then we had the Canadian Grand Prix where Alex Siebel took the victory. Peter Burlak got a win on the board for Edge Esports at Paul Ricard. And then a double bubble performance from Siebel once again at the Red Bull Ring and at Silverstone before retiring last time out with a connection problem that left the Edge Esports team 1 and 2 for Jarl Tyen and Peter Burlak. They are 4th and 5th in the Drivers' Championship, just 4 points behind Jeff Fournier in 3rd, who is a mere 12 behind Risto Capit, who is 28 points behind his teammate Alex Siebel in the Drivers' Championship. This second half of the season, though, we've got some really big tracks coming up, Dave, where the weather is unpredictable, the strategy is always very intriguing. This championship is definitely not over yet.
It's not, and you got to think of the development race as well, because obviously all these teams develop the cars over the season. Obviously, the next 2 races after this, you got Spa and Monza, which is going to be, they're going to really focus. I think my prediction is they're going to focus particularly on the drag of the cars, because a lot of teams are focused particularly on the diffuser of the cars, which will really help around here, actually, a track like Hungaroring. But I think between now and particularly look at the next 2 races, they'll be focusing on other parts of the car in development. I think particularly the drag of the car, and weight. I know most teams are maxed out on the weight of the cars, but I think that's the 2 real focuses for the end of the season. And of course, engines as well. Some people have started to, a couple of drivers have started taking fresh engines, like Jeffrey Fournier's had to take a fresh engine for this race, so he's got to start from the back of the grid. So it really could get mixed up. The season go a bit topsy-turvy as we get to the second half of this season.
Well, the second half of that qualifying session saw a few people go out and set some laps. Menno Klont got himself up to 25th position with his teammate Luke Browning in 26th. Who else made a good jump forward? Borja Milan got himself up to 19th place on the grid. That's not bad going considering how wet it was. He was only 5.8 seconds off the bounce. In fact, he's just been displaced by a very fast Chris Butcher, who's got into 18th and has demoted Horrell and Milan down to the 10th row of the starting grid. So even a few changes to the grid happening in the final few moments. Fran Lopez and Ricardo Costa able to get some improvements on their final flying laps as well. Dino Paolini managing to improve to a 16th place, but with the time down and basically the only flying lap that was fast being the very first one on a very soaking wet track, as the session basically got wet a few seconds after they left the pits, and the drivers have just come in at the end of qualifying and have basically said, why, oh, why did the rain come down now? Why has this happened now? They all had great strategies for the dry, and unfortunately, it's just all gone to pot now. They're going to have to do something very dramatic to set the cars up for this one. So it's Alex Siebel and Risto Capit making it an all ACR Zach Speed front row. Yuri Kazdorp and Jarl Tyen will be 3rd and 4th on the grid, from Dennis Jordan and Michael Ayres in the top 6. He'll be delighted with that, as will the flag-to-flag team. David Francic gives Red Bull Street Fighter their highest performance of the seasons thus far. Peter Burlak, Wright Kilk, and Dan Brewer rounding out the top 10. Making it, I'm trying to do the mathematics here, 9 different teams in the top 10. Oh, sorry, 8 different teams in the top 10. That is still really impressive. And that shows you just what the rain has done.
It's so refreshing to see as well. But one thing you got to know, I mean, you got to look at ACR slack speed. Yes, there's a bit of luck involved with what's happened, but you got to admit they've got the preparation in place for an event like this, because they might have seen yesterday's race, for example, where it just rained randomly, at race 2, and they might have seen that and thought, yeah, let's get out early, because they might have seen the weather forecast as well. And you can sort of see the preparation, the professionalism of the team has really showed here with a front row lockout for them.
Well, absolutely incredible scenario, but we were not predicted rain going into qualifying, and then all of a sudden at Budapest the rain comes down. And having been to the Hungaroring before, I know that it can suddenly look absolutely bone dry, and then all of a sudden the rain can come down in torrents. I was there for the Ferrari Challenge back in 2015, and we had what was an absolutely bone dry sunny day, not a cloud in the sky, when all of a sudden within 10 minutes, boom, the circuit was absolutely sodden. So it can happen at the Hungaroring. It's not always easy to predict. And of course, last week in the FIA Formula One World Championship at the Hungaroring, we had a wet qualifying session there, which really messed with a few teams' preparations. It's happened a little bit here. And well, I have to say, it's going to make the race itself incredibly unpredictable, Dave. And I'm not entirely sure how they're going to go into this.
Well, I think for sure, I mean, it's going to be wet tyres at the start, because if you look at the track, it's just absolutely horizontal. You can see the reflections in the road. Put it this way: if people start on intermediates, they're extremely brave. That's all I'm saying. Because I mean, the rain. It looks like it stopped raining, but it may come down in a bit when the sort of game warms up a little bit. But everyone's going out on the wet tyre, apart from a couple of drivers who are very, very brave. I must admit. But the large majority of the cars are going to be on wet tyres, and it's going to really spice the race up a little bit, because obviously everyone's in the same boat. No pun intended, because it's so wet out there. There's going to be no real strategy, because no one's going to start on softs or super softs as the rain pours down once again. Everyone's on basically pretty much the same strategy.
Yeah, everybody is having to deal with this as they see it. Basically, it is a very, very wet circuit. The rain is coming down big style here in the warm-up session. They've only got 10 minutes of track time to really bed in a rhythm. And for a lot of these guys, it is going to be incredibly difficult to predict how to get the cars feeling good for the race itself. But at the moment, it is, there's one team out there that is just not panicking, not looking sideways, just getting on with it. And that is ACR Zack Speed. There's a really big threat that those two are going to be streaking away from the front.
They are indeed. They are indeed.
But we are now told, actually, my apologies, we are being told that Risto Capit has got a back of the grid penalty. So that is a very interesting one. He's going to have to start the race from the back of the grid.
That puts my that puts the grand plan away, but at least they'd be getting the get ahead of a few cars at least on the grid. Apologies, but I completely forgot about that. But Capit's sort of back for a grid penalty. Also, a couple of other people who has got penalties, actually. I've got it written down here, actually. Dennis Jordan, he's got a 5-place grid penalty. Mero Klont's going to start from the back of the grid, as well as Wupke Hoekstra, I'd say Risto Capit as well, and Jeffrey Fournier. And you've got David Fiduk as well. He's also got a 5-place grid penalty as well.
Okay, so for those of you who are watching along and want to keep an eye on live timing, you can find it on raceview.nl. That is where all of the race action will take place. So raceview.nl, and you can follow along with the GPVWC live timing stream as it goes. It's very up to date, and it obviously gives us all of the information that we need as we get it. And it's going to be a fascinating race, this, with only one of the ACR Zack Speeds going to be starting up front. Risto Capit definitely looking quite smooth in these conditions, I have to say. And this is going to be very, very exciting to predict. I mean, this is going to be one of those lottery races where whoever is basically out in front at the end of the first lap has the best chance, but there are no guarantees from this point.
Well, I mean, you got to look at races in the past. Hungary itself, I mean, obviously turn one downhill, difficult braking zone to start with anyway, and it has been instances there in the past in whatever form of racing you look at. So particularly if you're starting in the front of the grid, you've got a massive advantage. And it was absolutely chaos yesterday in the Super Cup race as well. There's a few drivers who really did suffer in the first lap or the first laps of the race, and it really spread the grid out. So you just got to basically just give space to everyone else. Don't be silly, don't be daft, don't take any silly chances, and just keep it clean and keep it safe for the first few laps. And hey, how you might make about 5 or 6 places up in the first lap if there's people going off around you.
So how wet is it? Let's give you an indication. They're currently lapping 1:31.1s at the front of the field for Fidek and Yayovsky, and the fastest lap of the week in testing and practice for this circuit was a 1:14.8 from Jarl Tyen. So that just gives you an idea. We're about 17 seconds off the pace in these conditions. So obviously that's going to be very hard for the drivers to cope with. Ambient temperature is about 26 degrees. So obviously with the rain, you're looking at about maybe a degree more. That's about it. But this is going to be a very, very difficult circumstance for the drivers to cope with. And they are not going to have it easy by any stretch of the imagination. This is going to be a real knife edge for the drivers to cope with. And any one of them who is brave enough to push it with a bold strategy may well be rewarded. It's one of those situations where a gamble may just pay off.
Oh, for sure. And the one thing as well, I mean, a lot of people in this race, speaking of gambles, a lot of people now, this is a very low power circuit sort of thing. And power's not a massive thing. You don't get a lot of engine wear either, but the very large majority of the grid have taken very worn engines for this race. So you might see a couple of engines expire in the later part of the races as well. So, I mean, people like Fournier's got a fresh engine. Yes, you won't see the benefits in a straight line necessarily, but he's starting from the back. Expect to see him to make places through this field. That's the driver to probably watch out in this race. Just my top tip there.
And the other thing as well to keep an eye on in this race, of course, with it being so wet and with this circuit being Monaco without the barriers, as they've always mentioned, it's one of those circuits where drivers will have accidents. They will bin it. They will lose it in these conditions. They will strike the wall hard. We could see a lot of big names falling from this one. So basically, consistency and patience are going to be rewarded here for the drivers who are willing to just take it a little bit easy wherever they possibly can. And you may see some very interesting drivers in the points as a result.
I just feel sorry for the people who are doing this for the first time. Like, for example, Luke Browning, for example. It's the first race he's done in Super League. It's only the second time he's driven in Rfactor in the wet.
Yep.
Drivers like himself who've not got a lot of experience in these cars, I really do feel for him at this moment in time.
Well, yeah, he's definitely thrown himself on the deep end. And he is the youngest man on the grid, 16 years of age, only just recently turned 16 as well. But, yeah, if you want to do things by halves, you may as well do it the hard way. And here in WTF1 Super League, he's going to be one to watch. Several drivers, though, of course, we need to keep an eye on as well. Yannick Bock is going to be doing a very tough job of being a good substitute. And obviously, he is now the new man in at that team. It's not just a one-off. He's going to be there for the rest of the season. In the warm-up, he is 0.7 off the fastest lap set by Dennis Jordan in the Evolution car. So that's not bad going, actually, from Yannick Bock, who's proving himself to be a very handy replacement for Tom Parker in the same car. Fran Lopez is looking reasonably good in his new appointment at Red Archer. Very unusual to see a driver changing basically as the captain of one team to move across to another team mid-season is very, very rare nowadays. But it'll be interesting to see what Fran Lopez can do in his new appointment at Red Archer. And then, of course, there's a few others worth keeping an eye on. The flag to flags, I think, could be very strong here, actually, in the wet conditions at the Hungaroring. Every time we've potentially written them off, they've always bounced back and found themselves very, very strong. So I would keep an eye on Michael Ayres and Mark Hutchinson today. I can see both of those cars, David, finishing up in the top 10 today.
Oh, very, very possible. I mean, they've looked pretty good all season, and I you know, they've shown potential, particularly at Monaco. I remember, I think it was Hutchinson in that race, or it could have been Ayres. I think it was both of them. They was looking very, very good round that Monaco race in particular. There's right up there in sort of top 5 territory. So a race that's obviously similar in characteristics. They could do very, very well out of this, and obviously got a good position as well.
So while the drivers are finishing off their preparation, let's go for a hot lap around the Hungaroring circuit with Michi Hoyer.
This is Mitchy Hoyer from ACR Suckspeed, powered by simnews.tv and the Simpit, and we are live at the Hungaroring, which is host of the 11th round in GPVWC 2018 season. And it's a very technical track, a lot of fun driving it, and it's like Monaco without walls. And we're already approaching final turn, which is one of the most crucial points because you need to carry all the speed over this endless start-finish straight, which ends up into a hard braking zone, turn 1, a hairpin to the right, where the exit is fairly important because that is the hunt down to an overtaking spot at turn 2. Left hand 180 degree corner that bangs down into turn 3, lowest point of the circuit. Sector 1 finish, turn 4 left hand blind apex on the hill, don't cut too much because that unsettles the car. Right hand turn 5, need to be so patient when going onto the accelerator before you brake for 6, 7, narrow chicane, and here comes the technical part. 2 chicanes after each other, 8 and 9, need to be very on the line and compromise the car always for the next turn. Left hand into the right hand at turn 11, sector 2 done, very slow right hand corner before you have a double hairpin to the end of the lap. First the left and the right, and once again make sure to carry a lot of speed into the DRS zone, and that is across the line, 1 lap at the Hungaroring. Guys, I don't know what to say, just stay tuned to watch the thriller here in GPVWC Superleague.
Always good to get a lap around the circuit with Mitchy Hoyer. Thanks again, buddy. And a very exciting race it's going to be from the Hungaroring circuit. Thus far, 36 drivers have scored points in the WTF1 GPVWC Superleague 2018 season. Leading the championship on 165 points, Alex Siebel with 5 wins out of 10 so far this season. They've all been pretty commanding. The other drivers to take wins away from him, Risto Capit, Jeff Fournier, Jarl Tyne and Peter Burlak, all in the top 5 in the standings. Best of the rest is Dennis Jordan with several podiums this year, 3 third places. And the man who scored a fair, decent rock of points himself, Ricardo Costa, is battling with Borja Milan for 7th in the standings, with David Feidick and Wright Kilk just getting themselves into that top 10 in the standings. In the Manufacturers' Championship, ACR Zakspeed have a 64-point advantage over Edge Esports coming into this one, with Epic Racing 42 points further back from Evolution Motorsport in 4th, ahead of Hawkeye. And then we get the battlers, Nordzian versus Eval, Red Archer, and Flag to Flag, all very close indeed, with the Storm Racing team in front of Mesurik, followed by Street Fighter and the team that thus far only has 4 points to its name, Mad Cape Racing, really struggling in their 2018 season, which was meant to be a renaissance, turning into a little bit of a problem factor at the moment. Dave Carter, your final bet as to who is going to take the victory here at the Hungaroring. Hardest question I'm going to ask you tonight.
I don't know. I don't know if I've got a spare tenner to put on, but I don't know. I'm a bit broke off these recent bets. I keep losing. I think safe money's got to be Siebel, hasn't it? You know, obviously 5 wins so far this season, pole position here. If he gets a clean start, I mean, clean track is always the most important thing in a wet race. And if he can set off, get a nice gap at the start, half second, second, where he's just got his own space around him, I don't think it's going to be many people challenging after that. If there's people battling up and closer at the first few laps, there may be something will happen. But if he gets a 2 or 2 second gap in clean space and clean air, for me, he's won the race if he doesn't make any mistakes.
Well, it's going to be a very interesting Grand Prix. Hello to everybody watching along on the stream, either via YouTube or via the TF Facebook stream. It's going to be a really exciting race, this one. And even those who are already suffering withdrawal symptoms from the F1 summer break, don't worry, there is plenty of GPVWC action to be entertained by over the course of the next few weeks. Obviously, we have the Hungarian Grand Prix tonight. The International Touring Car Championship gets started again next Thursday on the 9th of August. That's going to be a really exciting championship as well. Do keep an eye on that via gpvwc.com. The week after that, of course, it is the Belgian Grand Prix week with the Formula Challenge on the Tuesday, the Super Cup on the Wednesday, and then WTF1 Superleague again on the Thursday. Plenty of fantastic sim racing from the WTF1 Superleague and the sister championships as well over the course of the next few weeks. However, of course, 70 laps around the Hungaroring here in Budapest in Hungary. And it is going to be a really exciting race with rain coming in the qualifying session to make a very interesting order behind our front row. And even on the front row, Yuri Kazdorp is going to be in a very exciting and strong position. Esports at its best, as we see, I think now with a couple of those positions changed, I think I can now quite happily say that there are 9 different teams in the top 10 going into this race, thanks to penalties. And that is going to be one heck of a show in the early stages. So an absolutely fantastic battle is going to be on the march here in GPVWC Super League. It will be an absolutely terrific race battle. So obviously the live weather is going to kick in very shortly, and here it comes. The rain is coming down. So it's going to be a wet start no matter what happens here at the Hungaroring, and it will be one heck of a sensational show. So let's get racing on the formation lap. The drivers go around now, and let's talk you through the grid in full. Alex Siebel, championship leader for ACR Zach Speed, on pole position. Alongside him, Yuri Kazdorp of the Adonis Engineering team in second place. Jarl Tyen for Edge Esports is third. Alongside him on the grid, it's Michael Ayres in the Flag to Flag Sim Racing team. Their best chance of a podium all season. David Francic for Red Bull Street Fighter, right back up in 5th position again. Then in 6th place on the grid, it is the second of the Edge Esports cars for Petter Burlak. Mad Cape's Dan Brewer lines up 7th position on the starting grid from Dennis Jordan in 8th position for the Evolution Motorsports team. Fran Lopez at his new appointment at Red Archer lines up 9th on the grid. Alongside him is Ricardo Costa for Hawkeye in 10th. Then it's Alex Cooper for the Nordian Racing team in 11th on the grid. From 12th position, Mark Hutchinson in the second of the Flag to Flags. Dino Paolini is 13th on the grid for Missouric Racing. Then David Fidek, former double champion, 14th on the grid for Nordian. Tobias Olsen for Mad Cape Racing is there in 15th position on the grid. The Swede should be strong in the wet conditions. Chris Butcher now in at Hawkeye Racing for 16th position on the grid. The second of the Evolution cars, it is Yannick Bock in 17th on the grid. Alongside him is Bruno Sousa Ferreira for the Red Archer Virtual Racing team. Ben Horrell in the second of the Red Bull Street Fighters lines up 19th on the grid on the 10th row, alongside the rookie Luke Browning in the Storm Racing team in 20th. Borja Milan is 21st for the Epic Racing team, a long haul back for them, with Risto Capit starting back in 22nd on the grid in the ACR Zach Speed. A fight back from him is guaranteed. Right Kilk in the Eval Sim Racing team car is 23rd, alongside Erhan Yuyovsky, who's fast, but starting a long way back in the Adonis in 24th. Argo Tita in the second of the Evol Sim Racing team cars is there in 25th on the grid, alongside the one man who danced for rain, Meseric Racing's Wopke Hoekstra in 26th. On the 14th and final row of the grid, Menno Klont in the second of the Storm Racing team cars, and the winner of the first race of the season, the Australian Grand Prix, Jeff Fournier, back in 28th and last. He will not finish there if he's got anything to say about it. This is going to be one heck of a race, and I am absolutely delighted that the rain has come at exactly this moment, Dave. It's going to make this race incredibly unpredictable, and we still haven't got a clue how it's going to work out.
I know, for the more mature viewer, I mean, this will remind a lot of people of 2006 race where Button took his first Grand Prix win, when it was a very mixed grid that day with Alonso and Schumacher starting further back. And it's a very mixed grid, and then the Button winning from 14th. I'm not saying that that's going to happen here, but it could be a very, very eventful race like it was that day.
Well, 14th on the grid is David Fidek, who is a former double champion. If anyone's going to get done from 14th, it would be David Fidek. So let's get the Hungarian Grand Prix in the WTF1 Super League underway. 5 lights on. When they go out, we're racing for 70 laps. Let's race at the Hungaroring. Cracking start from Alex Siebel. Yuri Kazdorp's going to get a good one. Michael Ayres looks like he's getting a bit of a tough decision there on the inside line. Siebel's going to have 2 of them to the inside line. Kazdorp's going to bail out of the move. Jarl Tyen is going to slice nicely there. It's a cracking good start from David Francic as they go through the first corner. Looks like relatively cleanly as they go through on the first lap. Nobody's spinning at turn 1, so now they've got to try and survive the onslaught of turn 2. Masses of spray everywhere as they get through that long sweeping hairpin. Nobody going off there in the opening stages either. So a really clean start here in the wet conditions, and Alex Siebel is leading the way from Kasdorp, Tyan, Francic, Ayres, Brewer, Burlak, Jordan, Lopez and Costa.
I'm glad to say everyone's been extremely sensible in the first lap, first few corners. No contact whatsoever in the first few corners, no incidents at all. It's great to see Kasdorp was actually attacking Siebel into turn 2, but Siebel had the inside line defended amply there. Absolutely brilliant stuff, but great to say, no incidents so far.
Yeah, really clean racing from the drivers in this first lap. They all know that this lost on the first lap, but not won, so they're being incredibly careful to get the car through the corners as easily as possible. Not a lot of overtaking moves, but everybody just keeping it nice and easy. No safety car start, and obviously they had to basically control their own pace, so that was effectively as close to a safety car start as you're going to get in the WTF1 Super League. Everybody just behaving themselves very nicely indeed there on that first lap, and Alex Siebel is going to come through at the end of lap 1 in first position from Kasdorp, Tyan and Francic. Now from here on in, we're going to get some pretty exciting overtaking moves. This is WTF1 Super League. It's not going to be dull from here on in. They had to sort themselves out on that first lap. Now they've got a little bit of breathing space between each other. They'll know where they can start to make those moves. And Dennis Jordan is already starting to attack Fran Lopez, who's trying to get on the back of Petter Burlak. Just outside the top 6, those three squabbling away for position. Fidek's got problems from Yannick Bock behind him as well, so that could be really exciting as they move forward. Hutchinson's trying to deal with a very high-speed Risto Capit, who's up into the points. Risto Capit puts himself in the 15th place. He is charging through the field pretty rapidly.
Amazing start there, and also another driver had a great start was David Fidek. He's already up to 11th and 14th on the grid. We did have one incident that was caught off camera. I didn't realise at the time, but Kilt had to pit his car and for a front wing change. But it looks
he's pitted and it has happened now. Yeah. So right, Kilk involved in an incident there. Wopke Hoekstra has come together. Wopke Hoekstra has come together with Argo Tida on the way down to the chicane. So that is not good, unfortunately, for those two. They have tripped over each other. And that is a big, big problem for both of their races, and still problems for Wopke Hoekstra getting back into the race again. Just want to see what happened there. Oh, that looked to me
far too quick into the corner and just completely lost the back end and took out.
Yeah, he suddenly realised. He suddenly realised, didn't he? He was never ever going to make the call. Dived out to try and overtake Wopke Hoekstra, and the back end of the car just lost it and went wayward. So unfortunately, it is game over for the moment for both of those two. They're obviously going to have time to get it back together. But that's the first major incident of this race, and there's going to be plenty of them. Siebel is your leader. Kasdorp second. Jarl Tyan is quite close to him in third. Francic settling in for a good run in fourth place from Ayres and Dan Brewer in the top 6.
Yes, again, everyone keeping nice and close. There's a couple of moves there into turn 1, but everyone being nice and close, nice and respectful to everyone at the front of the field.
Oh, good battle going on further back. Sorry, David. We got Ben Horrell and Erhan Yayovsky having a great scrap for 19th position as they went through turn 2. They were side by side. Ben Horrell getting a massive twitch as the car starts to get loose. He manages to catch it on the way out. Behind him, we've got the Australian Grand Prix winner, Jeff Fournier, starting to make up progress from 22nd as well. He's trying to work his way through. So this is a good run from Fournier up to 22nd already. The Storms are behind him of Clonta Browning. Then it's Sousa Ferreira, Hoekstra, Tida and Kielke are obviously all trying to make up places. How's David Fidek getting on from 11th? Well, he's still there. Ricardo Costa is the man in front of him. Lopez is starting to get onto the tail of Petter Burlak again, although he's got pressure of his own from Dennis Jordan. So there's quite a few battles starting to cook up.
There is, and Kasdorp still defending really well here from Jarl Tyan at the front of the field. So it's just going to go on to the pit straight for the 4th time, I believe. Let's have a look at this, but I think Kasdorp's still defending really well here, you know, because Tyan's not getting in the slipstream, making a move. He's just holding station behind here as we do enter the 4th lap, as people seem to be quite spaced out, no one really making any moves at the moment. It's just like pretty much like follow whoever's in front of you, as Sousa Ferreira and Hoekstra. A couple of cars are also quite close. There's Hoekstra just moves to the right hand side and is already alongside, actually, moving to turn 1 with Sousa Ferreira.
Yeah, this is the difficulty in these stages, isn't it? Because you've got Kasdorp and Tyan together. you don't want to make too ugly a move too early on, because Yaltayan obviously doesn't want to let Alex Siebel get too far ahead, but with there being so little room for maneuver on this circuit, you know, the straights are not long here other than the start-finish straight. Unless you've got a perfect line out of that final turn, you're never really going to be able to take that banzai risk into the first corner. And the rest of the circuit is so tight and twisty that in these conditions, it's very difficult to follow in the draft of somebody in the spray. So Kasdorp and Tyan are at stalemate at the moment, because Tyan can't quite get close enough to Kasdorp to throw it up the inside, and Kasdorp is doing exactly what he should be doing at the moment. He's defending beautifully.
He is. He's done a fantastic job. The other thing as well, in these conditions, you don't want to push the tyres too hard at all, because otherwise you just
sorry, Dave, we've got Ayres versus Brewer. Ayres versus Brewer. Ayres just about hanging on in front of Dan Brewer. They were side by side into the braking zone, and Michael Ayres has been able to hang on in there. That has held them up a little bit, because now they've got Peter Burlak, Fran Lopez, Dennis Jordan, Ricardo Costa, and David Fidek all in for the ride. So Michael Ayres managing to hang on to 5th position for the moment at least. Yaltayan is again lining up Yuri Kasdorp. Can he get there into turn 2? He's not close enough. There's no way he's going to fling that one up the inside. Ayres still hanging on in 5th from Brewer, Burlak, Lopez, Jordan, Costa, David Fidek in there in 11th position in front of Yannick Bock. Then the rest of the point scorers at the moment are Alex Cooper, Tobias Olsen, and Risto Capet, who's not really been able to move out of 15th place for the moment.
No, it hasn't. It's very, very still. Like a stalemate almost for each position at the moment, but everyone following in nicely with Frankic sort of starting a bit of a train there in 4th position, and just a nice little train of cars behind him to about sort of that 11th place mark there. So it's really sort of stalemate at the moment, but everyone's nice and close. But I think you don't want to push too hard in these conditions, otherwise you lose like the square edges off the tyres.
Oh, we've had a spin from Luke Browning, who loses the car.
And that's the front wing gone as well.
It's the front wing gone, unfortunately. So easy for a novice to lose it in WTF1 Super League. So nearly taken in there by Wright Kilk. So
another off as well. Hoke's just gone off at turn 4, and he's rejoined now with no damage on the car.
Well, this is how tricky the conditions are. Even the stragglers are really struggling, but it's so hard for a 16-year-old to come in as a first-timer and be competitive straight away. So fair play to him for having hung on as long as he has. Ben Horrell overshoots there in the right-hander, before the final hairpins. So Ben Horrell even is struggling in these conditions. They all are. So fair play to the drivers out there who are hanging on as long as they can. This is about the time when drivers are going to start to get a little bit more impatient. They're going to start to make those moves. Yuri Kasdorp, meanwhile, has just been edging away from Yaltayan. He's just been controlling his car beautifully.
That's a drift there from Tyan actually going through turn 2 there. So Tyan's really pushing the car. And Kasdorp's just driving away at the moment, not catching up to...
Oh, Capit's had a moment. Capit's gone off. Risto Capit has gone off at turn 1. Now, what happened there? He was lining up Hutchinson, I think that is. No, sorry, that is Tobias Olsen. He was lining up Olsen, dived up the inside, car drifted out wide, and he lost it coming out and actually slipped the car into Olsen. He was so lucky to catch that before it went into the wall. That was great car control from Capit.
It was. He could have very easily caused a lot more damage than he actually did on the car. Like suspension damage on the right front tyre there, but he did a very good job to save that car. And most of the people would have probably spun it there, including myself, I must admit. But that is a very, very good save, and lucky not to lose too much time at all.
Well, Yaltayan is really struggling to hang on to Yuri Kasdorp. It looks as though he's just overdriving the car in places. He's pushing incredibly hard. The back end keeps coming out. Kasdorp is just staying with Siebel. Actually, from Yuri Kasdorp, this is easily the best I've ever seen him drive, because Alex Siebel, we know he is the championship leader and how strong a performer he is. Kasdorp is not letting him get that far ahead at all. The gap is still under 2 seconds on lap 7.
That's incredible. It looks like, and just looking at the car as well, it looks really settled as well, particularly on the rear of the car. So it looks like they've done a fantastic setup of the team, obviously.
Lopez having a go at Jordan into turn 1. Sorry, Dave, that could have ended very nicely. I think Lopez was getting frustrated in there with Dennis Jordan, and he just decided, enough of this, I'm going to sling it up the inside and see if it works. It didn't, and somehow they avoided a big incident, but that could have been so much worse as they just dived for the inside. I think that was Jordan basically tapping Lopez down the main straight, and that was enough to really get Fran Lopez's wild up. They went for a big move, and Lopez decided, right, I'm going to go for this, and unfortunately on that occasion it didn't work. Michael Ayres is losing ground. Now Michael Ayres is down to 7th. How did that happen? He was, of course, in 5th position behind David Francic. He's gone up towards the right hand of the back end's come around. He has saved that beautifully. That was so close to a full 360. He's only lost 2 places. That is the kind of quality of a driver Michael Ayres is. He's got it loose, but he hasn't panicked. He hasn't thrown in the towel. He hasn't slammed on the brakes. He's just gone, okay, let the car move, let it travel through the curb, get back on the power when the car snaps back. And that was beautifully saved from Michael Ayres. He's only lost 2 places.
Tremendous car control. That one thing I have noticed, actually, I think the Mad Cape team might be getting a few nosebleeds here, running so high up in the field, running P5 with Dan Brewer at the moment. That's a fantastic performance there, because they've been right at the back of the field all season. He's still running that car in P5 with Frankic in 4th there. But Kastorp actually catching up to Siebel.
Yes, he
That's
is.
down 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, he's taken 0.3 of a second out of his lead there. So is Siebel struggling for grip, actually? He's doing his best, but Kastorp is just getting on with this in the wet. This is how much preparation goes into this, because clearly there will be a few drivers who will have looked at the weather forecast and gone, well, what if it does rain? Let's do a few stints in the rain to see what the car will do. Oh, and Olsen's gone. Olsen's dropped back. So Olsen has spun it at turn 2. I'm going to go back and watch that one again.
And he's still getting loose. He's going to rejoin just ahead of Horrell.
Well, Olsen let the car drift in there behind. I think that's Alex Cooper he was behind. And he's lost a good 3 or 4 places. Well, he's lost a good 5 or 6 places there, actually. And yeah, he was really struggling to keep the car pointed in the straight and narrow. And Ben Horrell well and truly took advantage of him there. Jeff Fournier completely unable to make up places at this point. So Fournier is still there, stuck in 22nd place.
It's exactly what he doesn't need as well, as the car's going off around him and causing incidents. And he might get caught up in something because he's got
and Browning is out. Unfortunately, that incident where he went into the wall, unfortunately, it is all over for Luke Browning. That's a real shame, but it's so difficult in these conditions for a rookie to get things done. So, you know, admirable effort. He put in a very good performance considering the rain came down at exactly the worst moment. And, well, it's caught everybody out. So Alex Siebel leads the way now by 2.8. So he suddenly realised that Yuri Kastorp is catching and gone, where the hell have you come from? He's put about another decent lap in and started to get away from Kastorp. I think the team will have suddenly told him, you know he's catching you, don't you? Oh, right. Well, better go on with it then. Yeah. Francic in 4th place, Brewer in 5th, from Burlak in 6th place. Then it is Ayres and Jordan very close together. Lopez in 9th from Costa. Yannick Bock is actually on a really good run himself now, actually. The Evolution driver has got himself up into 11th position past Ben Fidek.
Yeah, I saw him battling last lap, actually.
Burlak's had a moment. Burlak's gone down the order as well. He's lost it coming out of turn 2. He had to slam on the brakes to get back on the power, and he's let Ayres, Jordan and Lopez all go through. So Peter Burlak saving his bacon, but even the Edge team are not immune.
No, I say it's difficult for everyone in these conditions, as I said at the start. You know, if you're at the front of the field and you get yourself a gap, you can just focus on what you're doing. If you're in a battle, you've got to focus on yourself, keeping the grip, and also the cars flying in front of you. So for them, it's going to be very, very tricky. And of course, if you make one mistake, you lose like 5 places or 3 places, no time at all. So look at that gap, look at that battle in the midfield from like 6 downwards. It's just
that's down
nose
to
tail.
I think that's
17th place.
Yeah, that's down to 18th with Risto Capit catching them. So that's pretty incredible stuff. But because of all those drivers slipping off the circuit, Borja Milan has got himself up into 14th place. So it does look like the Epic team is getting... Oh, there's a spin! Spin out of the final turn. That's Chris Butcher. Butcher spinning out of the final turn. And into the pits comes Risto Capit. So Capit on lap 9 has come into the pits.
As the rain stopped as well. So... it's 97% wetness, so it's very, very wet out there. Let's see.
Well, what's Capit doing?
Intermediates.
Capit's going intermediate. Right. This is going to be the interesting one because the rain has, as you say, stopped. So this is the moment, really, when things are going to change. Out on the circuit, Burlak's having a real nightmare of it, trying to keep Bock and Fidek at bay. So Burlak just about hanging on in there from Bock and Fidek. Here we go, as Jeff Fournier has made the move on Ben Horrell. Big start for 19th place. So he's made his way forward. This is where it's all going to change because the rain has stopped. It's still very wet out there, of course, but Risto Capit's decided to roll the dice and go for intermediates in the hope that the circuit is going to dry out pretty quickly. And considering it's 26 degrees out there, it should dry out fairly quickly. Give it 4 or 5 laps, and none of these guys will be on wets anymore.
Well, it's a very sensible move, actually. I mean, it's worth taking the risk because he's obviously further down anyway, and he's got a big clear gap ahead of him, about 10 seconds. or about 8 or 10 seconds there. So he can just focus on himself. When you're taking a risk like that, as long as you've got space around you, you can make it work. It's just interesting to see if he's going to close the gap on the cars in front and obviously the cars that was ahead of him.
So Burlak, Bock and Fidok still having this amazing battle stuck behind Ricardo Costa. Is anybody else blinking and going for the pit? No is the answer. They're all going to watch and see Risto Capit do his guinea pig work. So let's see how this is going to go.
Cooper got loose at the final corner, and Boy Milan's just gone right the outside of him on the straight. So
here comes Bock up the inside of Burlak. He's going to leave that late. They get good traction off the inside line. Good move from Yannick Bock. Can Peter Burlak get back on the inside? Meanwhile, further up, Fran Lopez is in danger of losing the place to Costa. Round the outside at turn 2. He doesn't make the move stick, but Bock has got past Peter Burlak. Very good racing. Here we go.
Got more people rolling dice as well, as we got Tobias Olsen, who's just changed to Winters, Menno Klont as well, and Hookshot also in the pits as well. So Hookshot actually misses pit box.
Yeah, he did miss his pit box, so
but
he's
we
had
got
to
more
reverse.
people rolling the dice as well.
Well, the thing is, for these guys, they've already had a nightmare race. They may as well take the gamble. So from their point of view, they're going to have to do it. There is starting to be a bit of a dry line developing already. You can see that through the spray. Obviously, there's still a lot of spray about. Kazdorp's really struggling now. Look, he's got Yartine right underneath him. He's suddenly fallen off the back of Alex Siebel. Has he overworked the tyres? Is he going to pit? He's pitting.
Yeah.
Kazdorp is pitting. He's the first of the big guns to pit. I wonder, has he pushed those tyres too hard? Have they just completely worn out?
Very possible. It's very possible, but also is he thinking, well, I'm losing time anyway, I might as well take the risk, because he's more than likely going to fall down to third anyway, so if he takes the risk...
Hang on a second, Dave, because I've been told that apparently, according to the weather system, in 5 minutes' time, it's going to rain again. So if that's the case, then all of these guys going to intermediates have got it horribly, horribly wrong.
Well, could do, because of course the track is still soaking wet. We've got Hutchinson in the pits now as well.
And
Ben
he's going
Horrell
Inters.
As well.
Yep, he's gone to Inters. So has Ben Horrell. But if we're going to get more rain out on the circuit, then this is the wrong call. So we've got to watch the weather and see what it does.
Well, I was saying in the Super Cup race yesterday to a few people, and Luke Browning actually as well, because I was helping him out. Don't change anything unless it happens. So it's good news for the people in intermediates at the moment. At the moment, it's good news until...
Capit's lap times. Capit's lap times. Have you seen what he's doing at the moment? 125s compared to the leaders who are in 128. So this is absolutely a phenomenal speed from Risto Capit. He was dead right.
Well, give it sort of 5 or 6 laps at this pace and he'll gain a pit stop. And look at he's right, wow, about 2 or 3 seconds behind Jeffrey Fournier already.
That is absolutely lightning pace from Risto Capit. This is what he's good at, though. He's good at being given a car and just told by the team, okay, here's what we're going to do. Can you live up to that? Okay, fair enough. He just shrugs, gets on with it, and delivers. Risto Capit is, without a doubt, one of the finest drivers on this grid. And these are the kind of conditions he really relishes it. Look how quickly he's getting onto the back of these guys. They're only a second and a half ahead of him now. And this is the kind of pace he's on in Inters. Everybody, surely, should be going for it. Here we go. They're all swarming in. Burlak's in.
Oh, and Kazdorp nearly lost out the final corner, but you've got to watch out for Kazdorp as well.
Borja Milan was coming into the pits, and he nearly hit the wall.
So it's still obviously very treacherous out there, particularly offline if you're coming into the pits, because obviously that's still soaking wet through there. As Kilt goes past Menno Klont for position 25.
Oh, a bit of an incident there between Brewer and Ayres. Brewer and Ayres have had an incident. Now, they were battling away for position. And in fact, I think that was somebody going off in there just in front of them initially. It was Michael Ayres. The back end got loose, you see, and somehow... Oh, he just got tagged by Brewer as he went through. He was on the back of Dennis Jordan, and somehow he just about gets away with that one. But again, that was a very lucky escape for Michael Ayres. Now, where is Risto Capit? He is 30 seconds behind the leader. He's right on the back of this battle between Dino Paolini and Jeff Fournier. Fournier is defending. He just wants track position at the moment. But Siebel is now into the pits. Here goes Siebel. The team have obviously said this is the move.
Kazdorp is on a charge. He's just passed Fidek and Costa in space of 3 corners, and he's pulling away from them already.
Now, has Siebel left this too late, I wonder? Because we've got Tyan, well, Tyan I think maybe has definitely left this too late, although the way that Jarl Tyan works in the wet conditions, he may be able to get a bit more speed out of this circuit than some of the others would have done. Where is Yuri Kazdorp coming out of the final turn? So Siebel is going to be absolutely fine in terms of track position, and he's going to be there side by side with David Franchit. So Siebel's only lost 1 place, actually. Fair play to the ACL Zaxby team. They've timed it perfectly.
Well, Kastorp obviously lost a lot of time in the traffic there because obviously he was a lot closer than these now. He's lost a lot of time. Now time leads for now.
Brewer's in, Fidek's in, Cooper's in. In fact, the Nordian boys are double stacking it in the pit.
What a battle this is as well for 10th. Butcher, Fournier, Paolini and Risto Capit as well, all four welded together.
Fournier dives up the inside there of Butcher. So Fournier through into 10th position. Paolini still 12th from Capit. Capit is getting proper frustrated here in 13th now, isn't he? He wants to move his way forward. He's not really able to get there, to be honest. So he's going to have a look. He's been battling away down the main straight. Just been watching on the replay as he just sat there and waited for everybody else to have their little moments. In fact, he was alongside Fournier and they just had to let them all go because he ended up on the wet patch on the far side. Now Butcher and Paolini are holding Capit to ransom as Fournier's got past them both. So he's waited, Jeff Fournier, to make his move. It's exactly the right moment because Butcher's really struggling on his compounder tyres and now he's holding up Paolini and Capit. So this is potentially a race destroying moment for Capit. Look who's right behind him. That's Dan Brewer. Dan Brewer's now right on the back of Risto Capit.
Who would have thought Madcape and an ACR, Madcape we pass an ACR Zach speed here as he's around the outside, the side by side here as we got to Yaltan in the pits and almost made the move there. But look how all these different cars who were battling him.
Is also Lopez in, Fox in as well. And that's Risto Capit squeezing his way past Dan Brewer to hold him off. Now he's going to go for Dino Paolini. As Chris Butcher's coming to the pits, here goes Capit down the inside into turn one. Who's that coming out of the pits? That's David Francic. Careful, Risto. Perfect. But he's right out behind Francic.
And Tyne has jumped Kastorp.
Yes, he has. Tyne has indeed jumped Kastorp. As up the inside goes Capit on Francic. Beautiful move into turn two. That was absolutely on the lock stops.
Oh, that was sweet, wasn't it? Really was sweet. And now you've got Brewer trying to pass Francic as well. No, he's lifting off now. Very sensible move.
So Siebel is in the lead of the race now, 5 seconds ahead of Jordan. Then it is Jarl Tyen in front of a very sluggish Michael Ayres. Yuri Kastorp getting frustrated. Then it is Costa, who hasn't pitted. Fournier, who hasn't pitted. And then Capit. So if you take Jordan out of the equation, Ayres out of the equation, and Costa out of the equation, Fournier as well, Capit is in 4th place. What a comeback.
That is tremendous, isn't it? And tremendous. And obviously he took the risk and he got the reward. And that's what it's all about at the end. You know, he got the gap, which was important to the traffic in front of him. You know, he had about 10 seconds to work with, and he gained all that time.
A really, really good chance now that the ACR Zaxby cars are both going to get a podium here as Jordan and Ayres both pit. Fournier is going to continue. Fournier keeps going. Goodness me, he knows something we don't.
Well, what's his mindset here? Is he thinking, well, maybe if I push these tyres to, I don't know, as long as he can, so he must make one less stop potentially.
Well, does he think that rumoured rain is going to come back? Look at this squabble in the first corner.
Wow.
Brewer is going to go down the outside. Jordan and Francic find a way through. Jordan is still on the old tyres, don't forget. Francic and Brewer are on intermediates. Oh, no, sorry, Jordan is now on the intermediates. That's him coming out of the pits. Right into the path of Brewer and Francic, and Brewer has to run wide. So Jordan has got himself out in 7th place, behind Risto Capit, in front of Francic and Brewer.
We missed something out here. Fran Lopez has gone on the ultra soft tyre.
Yes, indeed he has.
And what a risk this is.
That's lunacy. I'm sorry. At this early stage, that is lunacy. But Peter Burlak goes off.
A lot of people tried the dry tyre at Austria, and a lot of people suffered massively as a result of it. It was cars spinning in the pit lane.
Oh, we got an off in the chicane. That's Hutchinson going around.
And I think gone in. Yeah. And we got Milan cutting the chicane as a result, and now we got to Hutchinson just facing the wall. He's trying to reverse, which is a bit tricky.
Oh, dear.
And we got Paolini with a stop-go penalty.
Oh, Paolini's got a penalty. That is not good. So Hutchinson drops all the way back to 22nd, unfortunately, as a result of all of that. But, yeah, I mean, this is a very interesting battle of development up front.
We got Risto Capit now all over the back of Jeffrey Fournier. Fournier defending for his life here on that wet line. But here comes Capit on the dry line. He's going to brake later, of course.
Oh, there's
contact with the tyre. On the front left corner of Fournier's car. Never afraid to give a bit of contact, Fournier.
Well, Fournier is going to try and back at him. He's going to try and throw it back up the inside. Now he has to give best. Do you know what? I think that's borderline. That's not an audacious move, really, by Risto Capit.
No, that was perfectly fine because he was on the dry line anyway. So that was absolutely fine. And now you got Dennis Jordan
Jordan's gone through as well. Jordan just swept by Fournier. Fournier's got to pit now, surely. How on earth is he getting anything out of that car at all?
Oh, we got a slow car. Boy, and Milan's very slow.
Oh, yeah, Milan having a...
20, yeah, so a disaster here for the...
now, he's had a really awkward moment there. He's had Francic, I think that is. Or, no, sorry, that's Ben Horrell. Ben Horrell diving up the inside to try and battle with Chris Butcher. And he came back across the circuit. He touched the curb. That's what it was. He touched the curb, got loose. Butcher had nowhere to go but into Borja Milan. That was not Butcher's fault at all. And unfortunately, Milan's had a big hit on the back of the barriers there on the exit of turn one.
Goodness, sorry about that. Oh, there's been contact there between Ben Horrell and Butcher as Horrell cut the chicane, and there's contact there as Alex Cooper now gets sideways, and that is Fran Lopez there gaining as a result on the ultra soft tyre.
Milan's had a second off, unfortunately, through turn 4. He's binned it, and that's his race over. That's a real shame. So they're out of the race, I'm afraid to say. But Fran Lopez, you're absolutely right. It's important that we need to keep an eye on him because, of course, Fran Lopez is desperately trying to see if these slick tyres will work as Jeff Fournier comes into the pits at last. But Fran Lopez has obviously dropped out of the points. The thing is, the ultra soft tyre strategy at this point is a little bit of madness because you've got to be absolutely perfect at every single point of the circuit. You can't afford to miss your apex even by a few inches because the car will drift onto the wet line and that will be that. You've only got one line of opportunity. What are his lap times like though?
The problem is as well, when you come in to overtake a car on an intermediate tyre, the guy on the intermediate tyre can just sit on the dry line and be like, okay, pass me. Because you got all Fran Lopez has got his wet track to pass him on, which means it's going to go off. So there's no advantage whatsoever. You've got to have like 2 lanes of a dry track for it to have any chance to pass.
Yeah, I think Fran Lopez is one of those drivers who just seems to suffer from, you know, his eyes being bigger than his stomach, in that he just gets greedy. He just thinks, do you know what? I've got a chance here. If I go on to ultras now, while everybody's on the intermediates, I can undercut everyone. And it just isn't a sensible decision. I mean, looking at his sector times, he's doing 28.8s, but Jordan is faster on intermediates. So it's still a better situation for Jordan, who has actually made the move on Capit. Look at Jordan. Jordan's going an absolute rocket here as he goes up the inside of Costa. He's come off the dry line, dives up the inside. Jordan is on it. He's up to 4th. Great work from Dennis.
Costa on the wet tyre as well, so he's going to start to suffer and drop back if he doesn't pit quickly.
Why is Costa still out there on wets? I do not understand this at all. There's only 2 drivers still out there on the wet tyre, and that is Costa and Ben Horrell. This is absolutely crazy. Surely everyone should be on inters thinking about softs at the moment.
Well, Ben Horrell actually just tried to overtake Fran Lopez there on the grass, trying to find even more wet track.
Yeah, Lopez is down to 19th now as a result. I'm sorry, but ultra softs at this stage of the race. I don't know what you were smoking this morning, Fran, but it certainly wasn't. It wasn't sensible, was it?
Oh, I mean, all a Kilk as well. I've just seen he's on the ultra soft tyre as well, and he's sliding all over the place.
Right.
Oh, fire! We got Bruno Sousa on fire. His engine's blown up.
Okay, so Bruno Sousa Ferreira, unfortunately, that risk, that gamble of taking a car that's obviously got, you know, a slightly worn engine has not worked out in Bruno Sousa Ferreira's favour. Now, are there any other drivers who could be at risk of an engine blow? Because obviously drivers thinking, well, this is not a high power circuit, so they will take a gamble and think, well, maybe, just maybe, I'm going to get a decent result on a low engine. And I have a feeling there's going to be a few more drivers, not just Bruno Sousa Ferreira. I think there could be a few drivers who get stung here by bringing a car that doesn't have enough engine capacity to get to the end of the race.
Well, as I said at the start, I mean, it's always a risk when you take an engine that's around 30 or 40%. And, well, for Sousa Ferreira, those worries have been confirmed by a DNF. But Alex keeping now 12 seconds ahead of Yao Tai now. He's just on his own.
Yep.
And as I said at the start, my prediction, you know, if he gets in clear space, he's got no one to distract him, apart from the odd back marker here and there.
Fastest lap of the race, Jeff Fournier has just done a 1:22.8. That is lightning from Fournier. Good to see that he's still got the pace out there, as Ricardo Costa has finally pitted after being out on the wet tyres since the late Middle Ages and now gets himself back into position. Jarl Tyne is 12.4 seconds back from Alex Siebel, with Yuri Kasnov right there with him. The spray has practically gone. So I give it, what, maybe 5 laps or more before everybody's going for ultras? Because Fran Lopez did it a bit early. Fournier's done a 1:22.8. Lopez has done a 1:25.7. So it's still not right for ultras yet. But give it 4 or 5 laps, and I think it will be.
Well, Costa's taking a different risk. He's off. He's off, Costa. He's into the wall. I was just saying, he's on the soft tyre, and he's lost his front wing. So he's gone offline and completely just slid
the
off
thing is, the way he's gone off, he'll have a lot more damage than just that. So
yeah, he backed it into the wall, basically.
That's the thing. You see, again, he's done exactly the same thing that Borja Milan did. Basically, you go off the circuit just the littlest bit, you hit the wall, you go slightly offline, and that's a big hit into the wall. That car is not going to make the finish. No, it's going to have way too much damage on it. Costa's trying to bring it back. Look, he can't even turn in.
No, that's right. You might as well. You got to look at him out now through this right-hander. He's just going to be like, almost drifting the car.
Yeah, the car's crabbing. He's had way more
There
damage.
There we go.
Oh, poor Ricardo Costa. Unfortunately, the gamble just wasn't going to work. Give it 5 more laps, and I say yes, dry tyres will be the way to go in about 5 laps, but definitely not now. So, unfortunately, Ricardo Costa again taking a gamble, and it wasn't right. You've got to wait. You've got to be patient with these cars. The thing is, everybody on intermediates at the moment still lapping consistently in the 123s and 24s. The pace has dropped a little bit, and maybe actually it's more like 3 laps now for dries rather than 5, because the pace is starting to drop. We just saw Fournier do a 122. Now nobody is able really to lap faster than a 123.0. So, well, Tynes had a pretty killer lap, actually, to get a little bit further ahead of Yuri Kazdor. Other than that, everybody is, well, there are a few personal bests, but not many. As Chris Butcher's gone off. Chris Butcher's gone off. Now, he was battling with Alex Cooper and Jeff Fournier. So how did that happen? Same place as his teammate, and exactly a very similar sort of incident on the exit. Oh, he's lost it in the left-hander after, actually. Just put a bit too much wheel on the curb. And Fournier got clouted. Fournier got clouted in that moment from Butcher. So, he is lucky to get away. I don't think, Dave, he'll have too much damage from that Fournier. He should be able to get away with that one.
Well, looking at his steering, it's dead straight, so he should be absolutely fine. I mean, when you see some crabbing 10 degrees to left or right of the steering, you know they've got big problems. But I think he's absolutely fine at the moment. You know, nothing major at all. Just looking at the track, it's almost what I'd call too wide for a dry track. So I think at that point, when it gets about too wide for a dry line, then you can start thinking about putting the ultra softs on. But I'd say Fran Lopez now, he's sort of like behind Hutchinson, but not gaining or dropping back.
Yeah, 125, so his lap times, I think he's just burnt through this set of tyres, unfortunately. He's going to need to pit again now, I would have to say, for ultras, because he's already gone onto that strategy. He needs to stick with what he's been working with and just wait for the track to bite. The problem is, Fran Lopez has kind of backed himself into a corner here. He's chosen this fate. You know, he's buttered his bread. He's now got to eat it.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. Or if you've got a set of soft tyres potentially as well, just stick a set of softs on and see how far you can go on them. As I say, the track is definitely flying out.
He's absolutely hammering towards him now. He's closing in. And Lopez is losing about a second a lap to Paolini behind him consistently now. So up on the inside, that is Hutchinson trying to go up the inside of Butcher, trying to make a passing move. That's not happened. We've got a great little battle developing here behind Capit for 6th position. We've got Brewer, Francic, Fidek and Burlak, and they are having a terrific little tussle as Fran Lopez has made the move on Chris Butcher, who's pitted. So Butcher's made his way to the pit, but this battle for 6th place is pretty tasty at the moment. Brewer, Francic, Fidek, Burlak.
And of course, you've got the most developed car there at the back of this train here, so the gap should close up between the 4 cars. So you got Francic and Fidek particularly all over the back now with David Francic here as they go through the second sector now. So I can't see anything else happening.
Do you know what?
Behind.
The Mad Cape team must be crossing their fingers, their toes, their arms, their legs, their knees. They've got cars in 6th and 10th position. They're going to score, if they finish where they are, they're going to score 3 times their current points haul in one race. Everybody at Mad Cape is just, you know, praying to every single god from, you know, from here to Vishnu at the moment, trying to get this done.
I guess so. Red Bull Street Fighter being a very similar boat in many respects, but Mad Cape would certainly be celebrating like this would be a race victory if they get anywhere in the top 10. To be honest, there's a move here on with Fidek. Oh, he's just feigning a move there. He's doing well in 8th place.
Again, yeah, David Fidek is just one of those drivers. He's just a very reliable pair of hands. Seasons. The last couple of years have been twitchy. He had some wins last year. It's been difficult this year because the car has not really given him what he needs to step up to the plate. But you can never ever count him out. He's a bit like Fernando Alonso in that respect. He's one of those drivers who you just can't count him out. If he's got a good car and good conditions underneath him, he is one of those drivers who'll take advantage of other drivers' mistakes.
Yeah, I'd say he's very well respected. He's say double champion in this series as well. A lot of respect in this pit lane, and I say a fantastic talent, fantastic ability. But we got Rui Costa now. No, sorry, not Rui Costa. Ricardo Costa there with the fastest lap now with 21.4.
21.4. There we go.
That's on the soft tyre.
Now, if I'm Siebel, I'm pitting. I'm going to go for a compound of slick tyre. Probably the soft at this point, because he's 9.8 ahead of Tyen. He's got time to play with, and Siebel is one of the drivers who can cope in these conditions. He's seen Costa do a 21. They've got to be thinking, right, now is the time. If Costa can do a 121 and he's a lap down, this is the moment. It's time to make the switch. We're going to see a lot of pit activity here.
Well, just to confirm the point, he actually just driven right past and blown away Yuri Kastorp. He's just unlapped himself on Yuri Kastorp, and this is down the straight, and he's pulling away from Kastorp at an alarming rate. So if you are anyone who's keeping an eye on that progress, you've got to pit in now.
Yeah, it's time to pit for slicks, and whether it's going to be ultra softs or softs are definitely at the discretion of the team strategists. But the race leader, Alex Siebel, is coming through. So Lopez has burnt his way through a set of slicks. Chris Butcher's on those soft tyres as well, of course. Lopez on ultra softs, it didn't work.
Costa's off. Costa's just had a massive crash. So maybe it's not time and he's out.
Oh, well, yeah, he has pushed it very hard.
He backed it in exactly the same corner as he crashed before. And lost
well, that's going to change people's opinion again. They're going to think, well, is this... Yeah, exact. Well, it's 2 corners on from when he had his last moment. And that is a very big hit. He's never, ever coming back from that. And that is game over for Ricardo Costa. That is a real shame. So as a result of that, nobody makes for the pits at all. They've seen that and gone, okay, it's still very high risk to go to the slicks. Amazing, isn't it? One lap time, you look at it and go, okay, maybe it's time. Then that driver bins it. No, it's not. Give it another couple of laps.
I think it's like different sectors. I mean, you look at sector 1, it's dry. When you go look at sector 2, that's when you want to be on the inters, particularly latter part of sector 2. And when you get to sector 3, you want to be on the dries again. So it's a real contrast depending on where you are on the lap. I think if it was me, probably stick on the soft tyre and then just really take it easy through the second sector, because you're going to gain that all back in the first and third sectors.
Well, we're at the point now where drivers are starting to come off the dry line and go down the wet part of the main straight to cool the tyres down. So it's definitely any minute now that these drivers are going to start to make that change. The 6th position battle is now a 7th position battle, because Brewer's getting away from Francic, with Feidek and Burlak at each other's throats around this circuit. They've been wheel to wheel for most of the lap now. As they continue to battle, they come up through turn 5, up towards the chicane, breaking down for the right-left. And this is where a lot of drivers have snapped it away in this race already. So Francic, Feidek, Burlak, no problem at all there. Yannick Bock in 10th position. Still an amazing race this is for Mad Cape, with their cars in 6th and... where is that now?
Oh, sorry to disturb you, Jake. Butcher's had a crash, and he's crashed into the pit wall. He crashed at the hairpin, and now he's crapping the car, and he might as well retire.
And he had exactly the same problem as his teammate Ricardo Costa. Yeah, he's gone off at the last turn, really badly binned it at full speed.
On the soft tyre as well.
On the soft tyre, just like his teammate. And unfortunately, I think the Hawkeye gamble was a few laps too soon. There is no way Chris Butcher's going to be able to get that car back on this circuit. He's going to try his best, because obviously if he can get it back and get it repaired, then he can come out on a dry set of tyres and try and make the points at this rate, because there's still going to be a few drivers who'll drop it before the end of this one. Olsen's pitting. Now, what is Olsen going to do? This could be critical for the race, because Olsen's left it a bit longer than the others. Is he going for a dry set?
Mediums.
Mediums for Olsen. Okay, that's a very interesting gamble. But Tobias Olsen is one of those drivers who could make this work. And Ricardo Costa out of the race.
Well, he's crossed the white line there for sure. I mean, there's no
that's a penalty. That's going to be a penalty for Olsen. The thing is, he's coming out on the wettest part of the circuit down the pit lane exit. And now he can get onto the racing line again. But I think Olsen is going to get a penalty for that, surely, crossing the white line.
Well, nothing's come up in the game. I don't think they get it in the game, but they may get it afterwards for sure. But exactly the same as what happened in Austria in the Super Cup race. They put on their dry tyres in a wet pit lane, and they all kept crashing, spinning in the pits. And almost a very, very similar thing happened there. Olsen did a great job to save that car.
I have to say, Chris Butcher is doing an amazing job of getting this car back to the pits. I parked that about 3 miles ago as he comes into the pits. Surely it's game over for them getting the points now because he's going to go 2 laps down. He spins it in the pits. He's done a proper David Coulthard there. Oh dear, spins it into the pit lane entry. Actually, that was more Roberto Moreno than it was David Coulthard, if I'm fair, who did it about 3 laps after DC. That's the moment in the pits nobody remembers, of course. And yeah, he's out. Butcher's out. He can't get the car going. So he is out of the race.
Oh, poor old Butcher, you know, he's a class driver, but he doesn't have, I mean, luck wasn't really involved at this one, but, you know, he doesn't have the best of luck at the best of times. So it's a shame for him as he stepped in today, being reserve driver, but unfortunately now Hawkeye completely out of the game, both of their cars out of the race.
And that's no points for Hawkeye at a race where it's likely that Nordzian, Red Archer and Flag to Flag could still get some decent points here. So from their point of view, this is a big problem for the Hawkeye team, not scoring at all. They are really going to struggle. Hutchinson and Hoekstra in the pits, and they have gone for mediums, I believe, as well.
Stop for Hutchinson.
No, stop for Hutchinson, sorry. Then it is mediums for Hoekstra. So they've both decided to go for drier compounds. And again, they are the sort of drivers who need to take the gamble, so they may as well.
And Hoekstra's gone off at the first corner.
Well, again,
completely off. There we go. That's the risk that you take.
Again, obviously, you're coming out of the pits, which is completely sodden. Coming out of the pit lane, you've just got to get that car stopped for the first corner. You've got to get it out of the pits without going across that white line. So we've only had 5 retirements thus far. Butcher and Costa, the 2 Hawkeyes, going dry a little bit early and destroying their cars in the process. Bruno Sousa Ferreira in the Red Archer with an engine failure. Borja Milan having 2 spins in difficult conditions. And then Luke Browning, unfortunately, out of the race on lap 6 with a suspension problem caused by an accident at the first corner. Fran Lopez is in. Now, he was on Ultras. It was a bit early, but somehow he's kept the car out of the wall. So what is he going to go on to this time? Is it going to be softs?
No, set of ultra softs.
Ultras again. Well, Fran Lopez, I tell you what, you're a braver man than me. If I was going to go to a stick compound, I would have kept it as the mediums for now. But he's going out of the pits, obviously onto the wettest part of the circuit. Get the car stopped, turn in. That's much better. That's how you exit the pits, when the pit lane exit is absolutely sodden and the dry line is still incredibly bone dry. Now, it's wide enough now that he could end up setting the fastest lap of the race at this point. Watch Lopez's lap times.
I'd say just a gap at the front update. I'd say we got Alex Siebel now 10 seconds to gap. It was 12. It's now 10 seconds to time. So the gap has decreased a little bit, but obviously still very comfortable for Alex Siebel at this moment in time. And
Right Kilk is on Ultras, and he's just done a 1:21.6. So that's pretty rapid. That's pretty rapid. So Right Kilk's done a 1:21.6. Fastest lap of all, of course, has come from Ricardo Costa, who did a 1:21.4 before, unfortunately, his car went into the barriers.
And you got Burlak passing Fiduk into turn 1 for 8th place, and Frankic nearly lost it on the exit, so it could be 2 positions, not even 2 corners. Burlak passing on the straight as Frankic nearly lost it.
I think Francic has overcooked the tyres, you know. I think he's struggling for grip. Fiduk's had to go onto the wetter part of the circuit to gain a bit of traction. I wonder if Francic has overcooked the tyres a little bit, and Burlak has been able to take a massive gain up into 7th place. He was already dealing with Fiduk, and with Francic running wide a little bit there in turn 1, Burlak's been able to drop 50p and pick up a 5er. He's done a great job there up into 7th place.
We could see him pull away now from Frankic. You see how much of a gap Brewer's pulled away in front of them, about 4-second gap. So if Burlak saved his tyres like Brewer has done, has not worn them like Frankic has done, you can see him just bolt away into the distance.
So Alex Siebel, 10.7 ahead of the Alpine. It's not dominant by any stretch of the imagination.
Sorry to disturb you there, but Kilt's gone off at the final corner.
Yes,
just slid off. Sorry to disturb you there.
That was a bad incident as well. And into the pits comes Kazdorp. Kazdorp's in the pits now. This is a critical one. Now, interesting. I'm just watching the Kilk incident back. He tried to come into the pits and ended up losing the car on the wetter part of the circuit, diving for the pits. Obviously, you have to come off the dry line. He went onto the wetter line, lost the car initially.
Kazdorp sliding into the top. He's messed that right up, and Capet's gone past, Brewer's gone past, and he's rejoined now right ahead of Burlak.
Yuri.
Oh, spinner behind us. Fiduk's lost it. He's gone over the orange curve there and spun the car under power.
That's a big problem for David Fiduk. That's going to cost him a good 10 seconds.
No, luckily Luckily, there wasn't a massive gap. There's a massive gap behind, so he's only down in 10th. But he's lost probably about 8 seconds there to Bok and Frankenstein. Still battling away here.
Right, Michael Ayres is in. Michael Ayres is in, and he's going to go to one of those. That's soft tyres, I think. So Michael Ayres has gone on to softs, as his teammate Mark Hutchinson has done so as well. So the flag-to-flag team obviously believe that soft is the way to go.
Oh, and that was a very near miss there. Sorry there, but Tyne nearly lost it in the final corner. Just missed Ben Horrell, and Hutchinson had to jam on the brakes to stop going to the back of Yoel Tyne there. That was almost a very, very costly error there from Yoel Tyne. Nearly getting wiped out.
And you know what? That would have completely gift-wrapped the victory to Alex Siebel on a silver platter, wouldn't it? There was been no way he would have come back from that. Yoel Tyne is basically the only driver who is keeping Alex Siebel honest at the moment. The gap is still consistent, anywhere between 8 and 12 seconds, as it has been for the majority of the races. Into the pits, they all come. Here they come. Capit's in. Brewer's in. Who else is into the pits as well with him?
There's Lapcar, I think, who's actually on the grass on the sort of after the corner in the pits. I think.
What's Capit doing? What's Capit doing? Now, what tyres has Capit gone on to? He's gone on to softs. Brewer's gone on to mediums. So that's interesting. So Capit's going for soft tyres. He'll obviously have to be very careful coming out of the pits. And that's caught out Jajovski. And Jajovski actually bottled it going into the first corner because he saw Capit to his right and went, and basically ended up overshooting. So Capit in 10th position, able to get away with that one, no problem. Dino Paolini's in the pits. What's he going to go on to compound-wise? Was on intermediates, and he now gets out on softs as well. So Paolini on the soft compound. Alex Siebel obviously is going to be watching what his teammate does and judging how the conditions are as he goes.
Now he'll watch out for Castor here, because he's in P4, and he is catching up to Dennis Jordan here, because the front three, of course, are still all on intermediate tyres. And you got Castor there on the ultra softs here, and if any luck for Castor, they'll be winding that gap down. I think he has caught up a little bit on this.
Yes, he has. Personal best in the first sector, personal best in the second sector. This is going to be a pretty rapid lap from Kasdorp as he comes across the line, and that is 1:21.8. There you go. I think dry tyres are the way to go now.
2.5 seconds quicker than Dennis Jordan on that lap alone.
So Yuri Kasdorp is definitely proving it's the right way to go. Into the pits comes Francic. Here we go. They're all going to come in. It's the moment. So Francic in, and what's he going to do?
He's on the softs.
So again, it looks like most drivers are basically going for the soft option at this point. Ultras is not really going to be used, I think, until the very end of the race for a lot of drivers.
I think the sensible move is to go to softs.
Oh, Fournier's had an off. Sorry, Fournier's had an off at turn 2. So what's happened there? He's been battling away with Risto Capit, actually, that was right behind him. He went into turn 2, and what's happened? He's obviously had to back down a little bit from one of the Nordians, and he just missed his braking point a little bit and has lost the position to Risto Capit. So little mistake there behind Fidek, but 48 lives to fight another day.
And again, Kastorp again this lap. He's caught up massively to the back of Dennis Jordan. Gap now 8 seconds between 3rd and 4th place here. Jordan in 3rd. Kastorp here in 4th place, and he's going like an absolute steam train at the moment, Yuri Kastorp, compared to the other 3 cars ahead of him.
Well, Dead Juice writes on the YouTube stream, Dennis needs to pit ASAP, and I could not agree more. This is Kasdorp's opportunity to put the nail on the head for the podium here.
And he sets the fastest lap of the race in the meantime, 21.3.
There you go, 1:21.3. So it is now the time. Burlak's in. Now, what's he going to do? Will he go for softs or will he go for mediums? We'll find out when he pits. Also in the pits behind him, that is David Fidek. He's going to pit as well.
Just Nivri goes on to ultra softs.
Burlak goes for ultras. Here we go. This could be an interesting one.
The game plan would be...
Burlak.
Sorry, Jake. I was going to say, I think the game plan would be on ultra softs now and then pit him for either softs or mediums for the end of the race. If you've got a set of mediums, I'd probably use that for the end stint if you're on ultra softs now.
Sounds like a good plan. The Nordians were far enough from each other that they can pit in together. Fidek goes for softs. So too, I believe, does Alex Cooper. And Alex Siebel is in the pit. Here we go. And that's going to be softs, surely, like his teammate Risto Capit.
His Tyne stays out, actually. Tyne stays out. Jordan's still being reeled in by Yuri Kastorp.
Dan Brewer now sets the fastest lap of the race, a 1:21.0, and it's ultras for Siebel. It's ultras for Siebel. He's going in a different direction to his teammate Risto Capit. So he's decided he's going to go all out and try and get a big gap. So this is going to be Alex Siebel's opportunity. This is where the race will be won and lost. Alex Siebel will want to disappear out in front, but Ultras, compared to everybody else pretty much being on softs or mediums, other than Kasdorp, is a big gamble for Siebel. I would have thought softs he'd have gone the same way as Capit, but no, Siebel's decided Ultras is the way to go. Jordan does it as well, so I think Jarl Tyen might be about to go onto Ultras as well.
Yeah, it could be. I think that's the way to go now for a lot of people. They're seeing the initial grip of the Ultra Softs.
Oh, wow. Capit's just done a 1:19.2. Where did that come from? So Capit has just done a 1:19.2. That is only 4.5 seconds off the fastest lap of the week. That is absolutely incredible.
I tell you what, they must have a great setup on. Well, obviously, Zaxby's a very, very developed car and have a great job of driving it. That's on the soft tyre as well.
Yeah, that's on the soft tyre. Capit has done a 1:19.2. That's pretty incredible. You'd expect the Ultras to be that fast, but not necessarily the softs. Really good work there from Capit. Now, Alex Siebel's mid-sector time was not actually that fast. It was a 28.5. Sorry, it was a 28.8, which is his personal best, but it's obviously not as fast as some of the other drivers have gone. So Siebel's building up to this. The good thing, though, is that Jarl Tyen has taken 1 lap longer to make his pit stop. In comes Tyen, so Siebel takes back the lead, no problem. Siebel's final sector was a 25.5, so not actually as fast as he can go. Jarl Tyen, Ultra Softs
jumped him, so Kastorp's retaken second place.
Yes, indeed. That was vital for Kasdorp. Really good work from the Adonis team. They have jumped Jarl Tyen. So all that work that they had made, all that work they messed up with in the first stint, they have managed to get it back in the second as Yannick Bock becomes one of the final drivers to make a pit stop for the Ultra Soft tyres. Surely it's Ultras for Yannick Bock. Let's double check for the Evolution team. It is indeed Ultras for Yannick Bock. So let's see how the Mad Cape boys are doing now. While Olsen is in 9th position, Dan Brewer is in 6th. So they're actually doing better out of that stream of pit stops than they were doing before. It looks like a double top 10 finish for Mad Cape. You would not have thought that coming into this weekend as we complete half distance.
I'll tell you, it's tremendous. And also, they got a good strategy going because they could go to probably say maybe lap 50, maybe lap 55 if any bit of luck as the car goes actually off.
Yeah, that. Jajovski's had an off. Jajovski's had a big off. And that's at a fairly nasty point of the circuit as well. He's gone off in the mid-section just after the chicane. He dropped the car off at speed. And
Ben Horrell as well. He's done a big crash into start of the first sector as well. He's whacked the wall on left-hand side, and now he's struggling to steer the car. He's
Jajovski's had a big shunt. Ben Horrell, I'm just going to watch his accident as well. Where's he lost it? Oh, he lost it, I think, at exactly the same point, just a lap later, actually. Let's double check. Yes, it was. Initially, he started to drop it at that point. It's a corner later than Jajovski's crash. And yeah, that is a massive shunt. He's never, ever coming back from that. And that car, well, he managed to stop it pretty well, actually. So there'll be a little bit of damage as a result of that. But, well, he might be able to keep going. And
well, he's still going at the moment.
Considering how many drivers have dropped out of the race, Argo Tida is the latest one, by the way. I didn't even see Tida retiring from the race. But his race is also run. So, considering how many drivers are still making mistakes and still dropping it, he could still get a point here, Ben Horrell.
Well, very possibly, because there's still going to be drivers who lose concentration, go onto the wet part of track, and then potentially lose and crash into walls. So, I believe everyone now is on a set of dry tyres on this track, all to various compounds, of course.
Except for Horrell. Horrell is still on intermediates. As up the inside goes Ayers to take the place away from Fran Lopez. Oh, Lopez, unfortunately, on the Ultra Softs, but he is a minute off the lead in the final points-paying position, and Alex Cooper is catching him. This is not going... Oh, and Michael Ayers has dropped it. Ayers has dropped it in front of them. So, unfortunately, Michael Ayers has dropped it out of the points. So, he and his teammate Hutchinson are now 16th and 17th at the very best. Olsen's dropped it as well. Olsen's dropped it further out. So, they are still obviously trying to get these cars up to a good rhythm on the dry compounds. Oh, and Olsen's had a very nasty one. He's gone through the left-hander, just kicked the wet line, and the car's just carried on turning, and he's hit the wall big time. So, unfortunately, it looks to me now as though he's going to have a lot of damage. Is that one of the Mad Capes out of the points? For the moment, he's carrying on, but there's a lot of damage to his car. You can see that.
Oh,
no, he's going to go straight into the barriers again.
He can't turn right. He can't turn right, and in the clockwise circuit, he'll have to pit. And with the damage he's got on that car, he'll certainly go out of the points.
Oh, unfortunately for Mad Cape, more bad luck strikes as Tobias Olsen turns in Well, he was able to get the car turned in that time, but, well, he might just about get away from it. He flicked the wet patch. That's why he was able to drift into the barriers. He's going to be very lucky if he gets away with that, because that was a nasty hit. Jarl Tyen, by the way, a 1:18.5 is the new fastest lap of the race for Jarl Tyen. That's even quicker than Siebel. And look, we've got Siebel 7.6 ahead of Kasdorp. Tyen is 9.6 behind him. So all of a sudden, this is now a 3-horse race. And in actuality, Kasdorp and Tyen are catching Alex Siebel. This race is not done yet.
It's certainly not, and I noticed Kasdorp there. Don't forget, I think Kasdorp was one of the first guys to stick on, at the front at least. He was the first guy to stick on a sort of ultra soft, so a set of dry tyres. So I'll say he's got more laps or more experience in this sort of conditions as anyone else has out in there. So he'll have more confidence in, say, Siebel or Jarl Tyen. Well,
Siebel's in a good rhythm in this season, so he's got that to rely upon. It's going to take him a couple of laps to get up to speed, but once Siebel finally starts to hit his rhythm, he's going to disappear. So we're just waiting for that moment, basically. His best now is a 1:20.0 compared to Tyen, whose best is a 1:18.5. He's a second and a half quicker than Siebel has gone on the same compound. So we're still waiting for Alex Siebel's ultimate pace to really hit. But has he got any in these conditions? Is he able to get to that point?
Well, I've just noticed Air's lost his front wing, but Tyen is definitely close up to the back.
Fournier in trouble. Fournier's been battling with Olsen, and he's had a problem as well. Let's watch again on the... I just got past Olsen, no problem. Dive for the inside line, and he's hit the curb at the wrong moment and gone in. Oh, he just about kept it out of the barrier. Well done, Jeff Fournier. I tell you what, if anybody is going to save his bacon in this championship, it's going to be Fournier.
Oh, and Hoekstra spun, but he managed to get into the pits. Ayres missed the pit lane and has parked the car.
Right, so Hoekstra,
on the final corner, and then Ayres is out of the race.
Oh, Michael Ayres is out. So that's a real shame. It was looking likely he could get .1 earlier on in the race. Yeah, he tried to come into the pits to repair his car just in behind Hoekstra, and unfortunately, yeah, he'd have to do another lap because he missed the pit entrance. So by that point, his race would have been run anyway. So Hoekstra in the pits and Ayres out of the race. That's a real shame. So now there's only 20 of them still going. 5 more retirements and everybody gets a point.
Well, Jarl Tyen now all over the back of Yuri Kasdorp now. So Kasdorp's obviously got quite old ultra softs on that car. Jarl Tyen's got fairly fresh ones in comparison and is now less than half a second behind.
And here comes Siebel's pace as well. 1:19.6. Put in a personal best in the first and second sector for him. So Siebel is finally starting to get that car up to speed. So watch for Siebel and Tyen on the move in terms of lap times. Tyen is right behind Kasdorp, as you say, and this is going to be a very exciting tussle for second position between the two of them. But only a few seconds up the road as Alex Siebel does a 1:19.5, is the race leader. So this is still a race for victory between these guys, but Jarl Tyen is stuck behind Kasdorp. He's going to surely go for the mover on the inside. Is there going to be enough of a dry line to go for? He's going to commit to the move. What a big pass that was from Jarl Tyen. Beautifully done, and Kasdorp basically just throws it into the wide line and gives him the corner, says, have it, I don't want it.
Yeah, he got into the wide line and he couldn't turn right at all. He couldn't slow the car down. He just understeered wide into the wet patch. So Tyen was gifted their second place. Track wetness now is actually getting less than 73%. Is the worst on the circuit, so the track is naturally drying. And I would be surprised to see, even though there's massive gaps between a lot of the cars, DRS being enabled if the track does get dry enough.
That's very true. And now this is a race between Alex Siebel and Jarl Tyen. I can see this going all the way to the death because Tyen is actually still consistently going a bit quicker than Alex Siebel. This race isn't done. And as we know already, Jarl Tyen, obviously having won the Monaco and German Grand Prix, will want to try and get some of that deficit. He's 44 points back in the championship. If he can get any deficit back from the race leader, there is a good chance he could still come back at it. Look, the gap is down to 8.8 seconds now. So he is catching Jarl Tyen with the fastest second sector of anybody. Somebody just went off in front of him.
And we had Ben Horrell's DNF'd as well.
Ben Horrell's out. Ben Horrell's out then.
Yeah, we had Ben Horrell go off, and then Menno Klont spun at the final corner as well.
Yeah, Menno Klont spun right in front of Jarl Tyen, so it was him who went off there, just going off the circuit into a gentle little pirouette. But yes, Ben Horrell out of the race, so now there's only 19 of them. And that's a real shame for Ben Horrell, but his teammate David Francic is still in the pit and still doing a very good job at the moment.
Well, I tell you, it's tremendous, and I say the gap closing down at the front now as well. I say, what is the gap now? We're talking 8.7. It was about 11. Now it's down to 8.7 now. So Tyne's really got the hammer down now to close up the Siebel. And of course, you can't push the tyres too hard early on, because obviously you push the tyres too hard on a low grip surface like it is now, you wear the tyres out. So if Tyne's been sensible, which I'm sure he has been, he may close that gap down even further.
Fournier versus Olsen again, and Fournier's kept his car right on the wet line for most of the charge. Fournier gets him this time up into 11th place. It's like Groundhog Day between these two, as Fournier gets through and up into 11th position, trying now to chase down the double champion David Feidek, who is a good 13 seconds up the road. But Jarl Tyen is doing the business here, fastest of all in the first and second sectors. A 1:18.9 for Siebel, but a 1:18.2 for Jarl Tyen. The gap is down to 8.1. This race has just gone electric. Jarl Tyen is on the charge.
He's still got 28 laps of this still to go, so they could get next sort of 10 or 15 laps potentially. They could be racing each other very, very close indeed. And obviously, you've got another pit stop yet to come here as well. Kastrop is right off the ball now. He's 7 seconds behind Tyen. I think, to be fair to him, he'd be delighted just with a podium.
Yeah, podium would be a very good result considering where he's been all season. Capit looks like he's had a moment somewhere and is now back in the tail of Peter Burlak. So that's fascinating. We've got Siebel and Tyen for the lead, and we got Capit and Burlak for 6th position. It's a real battle of wits between ACR, Zach Speed and Edge today.
Yeah, I see. It's almost like a Hamilton Vettel battle at the front, and then you've got the sort of the two Finns fighting behind in real F1 terms. But I say, you know, it's going to make the championship very, very interesting for teams and drivers and teams after this race if the results stay as they are.
If we want to start talking about driver of the day early, and I certainly don't want to jinx it on, what is it, lap 44 of this race, you would want to give it to either Siebel or Tyen based on the fact that they're first or second, or Yuri Kazdorp based on the fact that he is driving a very strong race for him in 3rd position. But at this moment in time, my driver of the day goes to Dan Brewer. He's in there in 5th position. The car is running well. He is doing an absolutely incredible job. Let's not forget, this is his first race of the season in Super League for Madcate. And he's in 5th position when that team has not scored more than 4 points all season. He is looking good for 5th position. I kind of want him to stay there because that would be a victory. That would be a bit like Mark Webber in Australia 2002, finishing 5th. The whole crowd went more mental than Schumacher winning the race. And Dan Brewer finishing 5th, that would be an almighty result.
Yeah, it would be a huge result for the team, and it will certainly almost get like the monkey off their back for sure, because they've had a lot of stick this season, and you could say rightly so from a lot of people, but they've had a tremendous event so far. I just hope Brewer keeps it on the island and gives Madcate the lift that they need, and a few points on the board to help them get back into the constructors fight with the teams around them.
Looks like Dino Paolini's lining up a move on Tobias Olsen, who, fortunately, teammate is slipping out of contention
sorry,
here.
Stubby Frankie Zanoff, and he's just tapped the ball there as well. He's on that wet line rejoining, but he's lost position to David Feidek. So Frankie just tapped the ball.
Yeah, he lost it at that very deadly turn 5. He went in okay, and then just midway through the corner, he just drifted a couple of inches too wide. You hit that wet patch, and you're going in. We've seen a few offs like that recently. We saw Capit run wide. We saw Yannick Bock run a little bit wide, and unfortunately now, it's David Francic who's fallen foul. He's down to 9th position. I think he got the car stopped enough that won't even really affect the balance of the car at all. So he's just about okay with that. Alex Siebel's now got back on the pace. He's just done a 1:18.209, which is his personal best. Jarl Tyen's done a 1:18.7 on the last lap. His best is a 1:18.0. So I wonder if the pendulum is starting to swing. Has Jarl Tyen pushed the tyres so hard in trying to get the gap down to Alex Siebel that now Siebel has actually been looking after the tyres better, and it's going to go back towards him in terms of momentum?
Well, it's definitely stabilised, hasn't it? It's now, what, 8 seconds, 8.5 seconds around that sort of mark. So it's definitely stabilised, but now Siebel's got traffic ahead of him. Menno Klon gets out of the way eventually, but Siebel lost a few tenths there, or half a second at least. And
to be fair, neither of their lap times are particularly quick this time, actually. Neither of them are very strong on this lap. They've done a 1:19.3, and as Jarl Tyen comes across the line, that's going to be slow as well. He's going to have a 1:18.4, actually.
I've just caught Hutchinson whacking the wall at the final corner on the right-hand side of his car, so he might start having a crabbing car as well. You know,
yeah, I'm going to watch that back and see how he did it. Oh, yes. That's not gone well. He's just drifted the wet patch. He just took a little bit too much turn into that final turn. Caught the wet patch on the inside line. The car tagged, and he was lucky, actually, that the front end didn't go in. He's nudged the back of the car. Then that sent the front end in. So he was all right up until that point.
Oh, and Fournier's had a spin as well out of the
Oh, yes, he has.
sector around the right-hander there, and Hoekstra's just passed him, not for position though, but he's recovered the car eventually there, and still in 11th, but not what he wanted. Now we got Olsen and Alex Cooper now closing down as a result. Yeah,
unfortunately, Fournier a victim of what tends to happen in these situations, which is that once you get the car a little bit loose, you try and get the car back, and it spins you out trying to get back into position. So Fournier, a frustrating day at the office, although he is in the points, and considering, you know, where his rivals are, being in the points is very, very good considering. He's not exactly doing a bad job. Another man, actually, that we should talk about. I mean, we've spoken about Kasdorp, we talked about Brewer. David Francic, 9th position, taking over from Flo Gaia, and he's put the car into the top 6 in qualifying. He's still there in 9th position, despite a few problems. We know that the car has deficiencies, but he's there in the top 10, and he's still looking like he could finish there.
Well, he's very, very far ahead of Fournier. He's in 11th. He's about, what, 20-25 seconds behind. So you've got to say they're looking good for a top 10 for sure here. I mean, it started so well.
Let's not forget, David Francic, this is the man who's retired officially. And he's basically come out of it the other side. Oh, now that's Risto Capet having to defend from Peter Burlak into turn 1. Now, what happened there? Burlak got him lined up. Now, I'm going to just watch that back again. Look, Burlak was sent to the outside line. He tried to drive right round the outside. Risto Capet held his nerve on the inside, and that was enough to defend the place. I think that's all right, actually. I don't think Risto Capet did anything wrong there at all.
I think that was fine. And I think he got Fiduk there, or Burlak, I should say, on the ultra soft tyre there, closing into the back. So he's still got the speed on Capet. It's just finding the place to use it.
Siebel going about the same sort of pace as Siebel and Tyen, about the same sort of pace at the moment. So nothing really doing in terms of their difficulties. Now, there's a big question I want to ask actually about Red Bull Street Fighter. Flo Gaia, for whatever reason, is not racing in this one. If David Francic is going to bring this car home in the top 10 in very difficult circumstances, considering the deficiencies of the car, is that going to be a consideration to bring Francic in for the rest of the season full time? And would he replace Gaia, or would he replace Horrell? Surely the sensible money would be, rather sadly, to consider placing Horrell. As round the outside, that is a beautiful bit of driving from Burlak. He's got Capet nailed there on the run down to the braking zone. Beautifully done for Peter Burlak into 6th position past Capet. That was a sweet bit of driving there. No problem at all with that move in any month of Sundays. Peter Burlak in 6th place. Now he's got 7 seconds to make up before he can catch up to Dan Brewer, and he could do that. But yeah, again, coming back to the Red Bull Street Fighter story, Francic's performance, if he's motivated enough by this, surely there's a consideration for him to partner Flo Gaia for the remainder of the season. As much as that would be a very sad end for Ben Horrell's season, but the argument potentially being that if they got to get rid of somebody, you wouldn't want to get rid of Flo Gaia.
No, I'd say you got to have Francic and Gaia as your partnership all day long. All day long. Sadly for Ben Horrell, he's not had the best. He's not had a good season by any stretch of the matter. He's had DNFs, he's had incidents. He's not been really competing for points so much in the season. When you're down near the bottom of the standings, you've got to try and pick up points no matter what. And the best thing for the team is to replace Ben Horrell with Francic and try and save their season, basically, because when you have the Red Bull sponsorship as well, you expect big things, and it's just not happened this season. So I think they have to act and act quickly. And if Francic just get a good points haul for the team this race, they've got to capitalise on that and try and sign up for the rest of the season.
So the timing now is about that final pit stop. The final pit stop is obviously going to be a really, really interesting one, as the battle is obviously going to get into the closing stages, and it's all going to be about when Siebel and Tyen make their pit stops and who's going to have the better run on whichever set of tyres they use. Now, surely, at the front of the field, the only option for both Alex and Jarl has got to be Ultras, because now that it's been a wet-dry race, they can choose whichever tyre they like. They don't have to use both compounds. So I would have guessed that surely for both Alex and Jarl, they've got to try and stretch this set of tyres as far as it'll go, and the only option, David, has got to be Ultras for both of them.
I think they're going to aim for around the sort of lap 54, lap 55 mark and stick a set of Ultra Softs on and then go to the end. I think that's a sensible thing for a lot of drivers. And anyone who anyone who sort of pits around that sort of mark is going to stick on a set of Ultra Softs.
I think pretty much everybody would, surely, considering how dry the track is getting. And it is getting dry pretty quickly, as Alex Cooper is really struggling to get on terms with Tobias Olsen, and they are having an amazing battle too. But I think it's really a difficult situation for anybody to consider anything other than Ultras for the rest of the race when they get to their pit stop. There's no other alternative, as I've suddenly realised how quickly Yuri Kasdorp has been caught and passed by Dennis Jordan. Dennis Jordan is into third position. We didn't even see that happen. So
and look who's behind Kasdorp now.
Here comes Dan Brewer.
Yeah.
Dan Brewer's caught up to Kasdorp. Unfortunately, Yuri Kasdorp has clearly pushed these tyres a little too hard, but the only way he's going to get a decent finish is if he stays out a few more laps and then get himself back into position. So, unfortunately, Kasdorp has just got to get... Jarl Tyron's in the pits! Jarl Tyron's pitting! Now, that is early if he's going to go on to Ultras. Is he doing an Ultra stop?
Yeah,
I think he is.
Yeah, he is. So 20 laps on this set. That is pushing it a very, very long way. That's a big risk.
And Dan Brewer's gone through. Dan Brewer's gone through past Kasdorp as Kasdorp pits. So Kasdorp's seen Jarl Tyron do it and gone, right, I've got to try and get these tyres through to the end. Now, Alex Siebel, I'm sure, can go a little bit further. So I don't think Jarl Tyron can win this race now, because I think Siebel can go at least 5 laps further because of when he pitted. So I think Siebel is now looking dead set to win this, surely.
Well, you've got Kasdorp, who's actually on the soft tyre, as well as Risto Capit, also pitted on the soft tyre as well. I think Tyron has done a bit of a messed up a little bit there. He's going to have to be awfully gentle on these opening laps, where he ideally really wants to push.
Yeah, he should be pushing Alex Siebel, and he's not going to be able to.
Oh, Siebel spun. Siebel
spins! Siebel spins out of the final turn!
He tried to pit. He ended up trying to pit, and
Alex
he was on the wet track.
Blown it! Now, that is Jarl Tyron's opportunity. This race has blown wide open as a result.
I don't think tried that on replay, but Siebel tried to enter the pits and got onto the grass on the outside of the pit lane and spun the car. He completely missed the pit lane. He's had to do another lap.
The championship leader pirouettes in the final turn, and that has blown the race wide open as Wright Kilk, sadly, is out of the race with suspension damage falling it off.
And Fournier has managed to blow up his engine. He's
Fournier's out! Fournier's out! Jeff Fournier is out!
Engine.
Oh my goodness, it's all kicking off here at the Hungaroring. Absolutely astonishing turn of events. That means now that we've only got 17 cars still running this race, 2 more retirements, and we've got everybody finishing in the points. But with Siebel spinning, that's cost him a good 10 seconds. He's going to lose the lead of this race.
Well, possibly. I mean, the gap's, what, 15 seconds? I mean, he's not going to be enough. You need around the 20 mark to pit safely. But Jeffrey Fournier there, I know it's not the biggest topic at the moment, but...
well, in terms of the championship, that's huge.
It is huge. He's blown up a fresh engine, which obviously it's cost the team $1 million pounds or dollars, I can't remember what it is, to run the engine, and he's blown it up at the least power Hungary circuit, the Calais. So
that
the team,
is going to drop him from 3rd in the championship to 5th.
It's an absolute disaster for the team. It's double DNF, and it's an expensive double DNF as well, not only for the championship, but for their bank account as well.
In comes Siebel. He's going to change to Ultras, but Jarl Tyron is going to be gifted the lead. Unbelievable scene. Siebel has made the mistake, dropped it while leading, and now he's got to gently edge his way out onto the circuit. Jarl Tyron and the Edge team are going to be gifted a victory, surely. For the 3rd time this season, Jarl Tyron is going to sit up a bit attention. He'd never won a race before Monaco, and it looks like now he's going to get his 3rd of the season.
What an unbelievable turn of events here.
What a Grand Prix! What a race this is!
4.5 seconds now the gap.
And Yaltain has just responded at 1:17.9. He's getting on with this. He's not going to lose this race, is he? Not if he's got anything to say about it.
Well, the fact is, I mean, when you get given an opportunity like that, you go with both hands and just push. Oh, he's just actually just jumped the chicane. Actually, he's nearly lost it on the wet patch.
Yaltain's struggling now.
But you cannot give up an opportunity when you see on your delta that you've gained what 5 or 6 seconds or 7 seconds or how much you've gained. You don't just ease off. You push, and he's pushed there, and he's gained all the rewards. So now he's just.
I'm just watching the replay of him in the chicane. Yeah, he just locked in the first part of the apex, had to overshoot, got back on the power, and somehow didn't spin the car. He'll get away with that. He was very lucky, but he'll get away with that one. Yaltain is 2.9 seconds now ahead of Alex Siebel after that little off. And now it is a straight fight between the two of them. We're going to get a mano-a-mano battle royale between arguably the two best drivers in the field here today.
Oh, it's going to be a tremendous finish, hasn't it? It's race.
And actually, let's not forget the man in third. Dennis Jordan is only 5 seconds off the lead. He's not out of this race yet.
He's not out of the race yet. I think he's still got to make a pit stop, though, on those tyres, because they are going to be awfully worn. I didn't see him make a pit stop. But Dan Brewer up in fourth as well. Burlack's in the pits as well as we speak. But yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting three-way battle, potentially for the win here.
Lopez in the pits, and unfortunately his race has rather unraveled. Should have gone a little bit stronger. Through all of this, up to fourth position has come Dan Brewer. If one of the top three drops out of this race, Madcape are going to be on the podium. You never would have thought that coming into this.
I'll tell you, the chat will just explode, I think. I think it's just be absolutely amazing to see that. I mean, I never saw that coming in a month of Sundays or a year of Sundays in many regards.
That would be a sensational victory. Oh, Dan Brewer's... What's happened there?
We've had a car. I did see a grass there kicked off. I don't know what car it was who went off there. Oh, so time went slightly wide.
Time going off the road. Yes, he did. He went off the road there. So Yalt, race leader, dropping it. And Alex Siebel is now less than a second behind him. Here we go. This is for the victory. And Alex Siebel has just responded. He's done a 1:17.7. He is catching up to Yaltain. Less than a second. Here we go. The battle for the victory is on.
Now, the thing is, for Siebel, making that mistake that he did, he's obviously got a lot of anger in the cockpit making that mistake. And he's channeling it in the right direction at the moment because he's just absolutely reeling Yaltain like a salmon on that fishing rod, just reeling him in really quickly. And 16 laps to go here, or 15 laps to go here now. Absolutely nail-biting finish here to this race, potentially.
And I still think it's going to be close for third place, you know, because Jordan is actually losing time consistently to Dan Brewer. I mean, Jordan is, well, the last lap he was a bit quicker, but Jordan and Brewer, it's going to be a blink and miss it between those two, because if either one of them drops it, the other one's going to get the podium. So Jordan and Brewer both need to pit. But interestingly, they're going to be a lot faster than Tyan and Siebel at the end of the race. So they're going to gain a lot of time. They're not going to gain any positions on these two, unless, of course, these two do a Schumacher Hill 95 and they end up taking each other off. Then Jordan and Brewer would end up battling for the victory. Now, that sort of thing, Tyan and Siebel taking each other out, does not happen in WTF1 Super League very often at all. As Jordan pits, Brewer continues. So that's interesting. Jordan's going to pit. Brewer's going to try and get the car going one lap further. As again, Jordan, no other decision for him. He goes for Ultras. Brewer hasn't been on the Ultras once today. Let's not forget that. He's done most of what he's done on the medium tyre. So Dan Brewer is about to go on to Ultras for the first time. He could catch and pass Jordan if he's in the right sort of frame of mind.
Well, the one thing you got to forget is, I mean, we don't know how far a set of mediums goes, and it's lap 56 now, 14 to go. I can't see it.
He might not lose this.
I mean, the gap is 8 seconds, so if that is a very, very worn set of medium tyres, he may end up losing time to the likes of Jordan behind him.
I'm looking at conversations. Mike Pittman saying he's on mediums. Again. Meanwhile, Yaltain, the race leader, is being held up.
He is, and
big problem.
Now, as Tobias Olsen is doing a very good job of holding them up, aren't they?
This is not good. Olsen's going to pit, and these two are going to be nose to tail. Siebel's going to get a good lead here. Was going to Surely he'll be close enough to challenge down the straight. Well, maybe not, but he's going to try and have a little bit of a go at Jarl Tyron. Certainly on the way out of turn 1 if he can get a good exit up towards turn 2. Tobias Olsen obviously has pitted and he's going to get out in front of Cooper. But this is going to be a really exciting battle to the finish between these two now.
All needs to happen though for something to happen is one of them just to go to a wet part of track for just the wrong amount, and if one of them spins off, so they have to be really, really careful here. Yes, they both want to win this race, of course, but they can't drive the car.
This is going to be such a nail-biting finish to the race with Jarl Tyron pushing incredibly hard in front of Alex Siebel, first and second for the victory. We thought it was pretty much done and dusted for Alex Siebel before he dropped it at the pit entry. Now it's in the hands of Jarl Tyron. The Norwegian has everything to lose here. Alex Siebel has everything to gain. We're thinking potentially that Dan Brewer losing a lot of time in front of Dennis Jordan, but may not have to pit again. So if he can just keep that car wide enough, then Dennis Jordan may have to settle for 4th position with Madcape on the podium. Even if that's not the case, then Brewer should still get a top 6 finish, which will be like a victory for Madcape. Here we go. Siebel out of the final turn, lining up Jarl Tyron down the straight as they head for the first hairpin. And this time, Siebel is definitely closer than he was on the previous lap. Jarl Tyron is going to make him work for it. He holds the middle of the circuit. He dives for the inside line. That's going to be a high-risk exit, but Siebel is not close enough to defend it. Beautiful work from Jarl Tyron as he holds on to the lead for the moment.
Ah, it's terrific stuff, isn't it? You can see Siebel looking to get a good run out of a few of those corners I saw as well on the previous lap now. And you can see just Siebel is just, I think he's just looking to see where he's quicker than Tyron at the moment, and in 2 or 3 laps time, maybe go for a move.
Alex Siebel's looking very hungry there behind Jarl. Very exciting tussle into the chicane, out of the left hand.
Apologies as Jake is cutting out slightly in the broadcast, but I've just noticed some Castorp and Capit as well battle for 6th place. Capit is all over the back now with Castorp as well.
So as they continue to battle for position, Jarl Tyron and Alex Siebel just a 1/4 of a second on the last stint, up to 0.4 of a second in that stint as Jarl Tyron continues to battle with Alex Siebel. Can Siebel get his move on Jarl Tyron? Through to the left-hander hairpin. Back on the power. This is so fascinating to watch as Jarl Tyron is trying to soak up all the pressure from Siebel, but Siebel is again very close out of the final turn, and this is the opportunity that Alex Siebel is looking for as they go down the straight once again. Will he throw it up the inside? He's not quite close enough yet, but these guys want to try and make these tyres work. Is he just going to sit behind Jarl Tyron for the next few laps, let the Norwegian do all the hard work, make him make the mistake, and just take advantage? If I'm Alex Siebel right now, I'm going to sit behind Jarl Tyron for the next few laps and just make him sweat.
Oh, for sure, you know, because obviously tyre wear as well. I think Tyron did pit a lap or 2 earlier than Alex Siebel as well, so you got to think that Siebel does have the fresher rubber on his tyres, but it all depends on whether he's going to wait or try and push now, and or wait later on in the stint and make Tyron suffer a little bit, so to speak.
The difficulty as well, of course, is that this is the Hungaroring. It's not an easy circuit to overtake on, so Alex Siebel will want to make sure he's close enough to Jarl for the entirety of this final stint and this final sequence as they are coming up to lap David Francic, who is still there in the top 10. Matthew Allington writes on the YouTube stream, Siebel looks to be lacking in a straight line. I wonder if that's actually strategic. Is he trying to ease up on the tyres a little bit just to give himself an extra lap or so's life on Jarl Tyron so he can strike while the iron's hot in the final couple of laps? Because if he pushes Alex Siebel, if he pushes Jarl Tyron close enough, he might get an opportunity in the slipstream here, because obviously Francic is there in front. Is Siebel going to continue for the move? He's on the wet patch. Oh, Alex Siebel had to back out of that opportunity. Goodness me, too much on the wet patch.
Yeah, it looked like he almost slapped up the right front as well, which if that is the case, I might have seen that wrong there, but it could have maybe given a flat spot on Siebel's car if that was locking up brakes, or whether that was just a wet patch, then he should have got away with that.
We also need to look at the battle for 3rd and 4th position, because Dennis Jordan is closing in on Dan Brewer. He's just managed to lap Brewer's teammate Tobias Olsen, and now Jordan is closing in big time on Dan Brewer. So we'll try and keep an eye on both of these battles for podium spots as Jarl Tyron continues to hold the advantage in the lead in front of Alex Siebel. Dan Brewer on this set of medium tyres is still going strong. This is going to be an absolutely incredible, intriguing, fascinating, death-defying grandstand finish for every position in the top 6 pretty much, because Burlak is still gapping Risto Capit. And Yuri Kazdorp struggling now in 7th position. A good effort from Kazdorp. You have to give him that.
Oh, and in the pits comes Tyan.
Tyan's pitting! What is your Tyan doing? He's pitting!
Well, maybe the tyre wear is higher than we thought. Obviously, it's a very green track still, this racetrack. So maybe the tyre wear is higher than we
They may have one more
thought.
stop on Ultras. Yeah, maybe they've just got one more. So we did say, didn't we, that 20 laps was a long way to go. So I guess he's going for another fresh stint. And I think Siebel's got to do the same thing.
Well, Dan Brewer's in the pits as well from 3rd. He's going to take this.
Yeah, Brewer's going to take a step of in Ultras. So is Dennis Jordan going to have to do the same thing because he's on Ultras? I think Brewer's going to go to the set of Ultras to the end. He might have a chance to finish here.
Well, very possibly. If everyone has to do a pit stop here, he can get because the thing is, the Ultras can easily last 10. Well, it lasted 10 laps.
Brewer, watch Brewer's exit. Sorry, Dave. Brewer's exit is critical because he's not done that many runs out of the pits. But there's no water there, basically, so he's all right. He's done fine. Brewer's looking good for the podium.
And critically as well, he's managed to get ahead of Fran Lopez, so he's got the clear track in front of him as well.
Well, Lopez might look at him and think, well, I'm racing that guy. No, you're not. That's the bias also a couple of cars up the road, mate. You leave her alone. You're racing.
I know he is normally lapping Mad Kate cars, but today he's certainly not.
Siebel's carrying on. Siebel's going on. He's not pitting. Now, this is critical because I think Siebel really needs to match Tyan and make the pit stop because Tyan on fresher rubber surely is going to extend another second or so. He's going to gain time back from Siebel. I think Tyan's got this right.
Well, you think it's 15 seconds to gap. It's 9 laps to go. Now, obviously, Tyan has to pass traffic, and he is on the fresh rubber, of course. But
are you thinking Siebel can hang on?
I think, well, it's 9 laps. It's what, 8.5 laps to go. It's 15 seconds. You're talking 2 seconds a lap plus passing traffic as well for Jarl Tyan. I think Siebel may just hold this out here, lift off a little bit, save the tyres a little bit, and go to the end.
That's going to be very, very interesting. If he can do that, then wow, that really just shows the quality of Alex Siebel. If he can do that, Tyan is catching him pretty rapidly. We're on lap 62 of 70, so potentially Siebel could just ease off and keep that car very wide. Maybe Siebel's done it. Maybe Siebel has actually played Jarl Tyan, played the game, and might actually beat him to the flag here because the gap, as you say, is 14 seconds. If Siebel's got enough rubber on those tyres, there is no immediate need to pit. Siebel's carrying on. He's going to go to the end. Can he do this?
I think it's very doable. I mean, it all depends how many cut-offs they have to lap as well, because obviously, you know, the lap traffic today, they have held up on a couple of occasions, like Tobias Olsen did earlier. They held up the front 2 cars and closed the gap.
Well, so has Jarl Tyan just thrown away a victory? Because technically speaking, he probably could have made these tyres last the same length as Siebel, kept his car a bit wider. Has Jarl Tyan thrown away an almost certain opportunity for a victory? He's not going to catch him.
Just set the fastest lap of a 16.998. I'm not sure what Alex Siebel actually did on his last lap.
117.8. 117.8. So there's a second difference. That's not enough.
Not enough. It's nowhere near enough. He needs to be doing 2 seconds a lap per Jarl Tyan on Siebel.
I think Jarl Tyan has thrown away a victory here.
Very possibly. Very possibly.
Dan Brewer has rejoined in 6th position on a fresh set of Ultras. The gap between him and Dennis Jordan for 3rd is 17 seconds. Now, if Jordan is going to look after his tyres and doesn't need to pit again, the only person I can see Dan Brewer catching before the finish now is Risto Capit, who's on softs. So Brewer...
We've had a spinner before turn 1, sorry to disturb you there. I didn't see what car it actually was.
I think that's Hoekstra. I think it's Hoekstra. Yeah,
he was parked at a very, very weird angle on the exit of turn 1.
Yeah, he'd come out of the pits. He just made a pit stop, and unfortunately, he'd caught the white line on the way in. I think he was so desperately trying to stay out of everybody's way that he ended up causing himself a major problem. Jarl Tyan is definitely slicing the gap between himself and Siebel, but it's not fast enough. He's done a 1:16.9.
It's only 1 second a lap. Only 1 second a lap. Siebel's got this if you don't make a mistake.
Yeah, Alex Siebel just needs to keep it calm, keep it cool, and keep it together. And I don't think he's going to lose this. Siebel has just bought himself a victory from Jarl Tyan. He's tricked the edge driver. He's obviously been sat behind him cooling his tyres and cooling his brakes. He doesn't need to push hard here at all.
Nah, as I say, it's unfortunate for Edge. You know, it was, as I say, it's really spicing up, wasn't it, the latest stage of the series? We both thought they was going to go to the end of the race. Well, for whatever reason, tyres decided to pit, whether it was tyre wear or just, you know, thought I'll try something a bit different. But he was leading anyway, so he didn't need to try anything different. It must have been the tyres.
I guess he was basically at the point where they obviously considered, can you go to the end of the race? And Jarl was basically saying, there's no point. I'm just going to fall off a cliff and it's going to be awful. Whereas ACR Zakspeed have done so much more hard work on tyre strategy that Siebel went there. Either that or Edge Esports genuinely thought that Siebel was going to need to pit as well. Of course, we may get to the point in 2 or 3 laps when Siebel's tyres just drop. And that's got to be when Jarl Tyron hopes he can get one over on Siebel. If he just starts to lose like 2 to 3 seconds a lap. This has all got to be about Siebel basically just losing that second a lap consistently, not pushing the car. He needs to lift and coast on the brakes. He doesn't want to overcook the tyres in any way, shape or form. He has got to be on cruise control. Oh, we've lost someone with the engine. Someone's got an engine problem.
No, it's not an engine problem.
My apologies.
We've got Menno Klont who's actually missing a front wing.
Yeah, Menno Klont's gone off the road. That's what I was unfortunately, I've got messages in my ears and I was getting confused. My apologies. So Menno Klont has gone off the road and had a difficulty with his front wing. Sorry to give everybody in the live stream a heart attack. I thought there was, we can't take more of this, surely. But as Jack Mayer Racing writes on the YouTube stream, everything has happened in this race. And even with 6 laps to go, anything still could.
And talk of things happening, we've got Dan Brewer catching up Risto Capet. We've got the Mad Cake catching the ACR here.
When has that happened? When has that happened in 2018? The Mad Cake.
He's gone off.
He's gone off. Risto Capet's gone off. Capet's binned it.
Oh, well, dear, look at that.
Unbelievable. The Mad Cake pushes the ACR Zakspeed into a mistake. And that's the first time I have ever said that in 2018. That's brilliant from Dan Brewer. Oh, this boy's got to stay focused and keep this together. 5th position. He must be absolutely loving it.
He is indeed. As I say, that's a huge moment. You know, that is the moment of their season so far for sure. We've got Klont as well. We spun on the exit of turn 2 there as well. Gap between Siebel and Tyne still 11 seconds. But yeah, that has put a grin on everyone's faces up in the broadcast, hasn't it? You know, just seeing Cabot just lose it and for a mistake from the pressure of Dan Brewer in the Mad Cake car there. That was a brilliant moment.
I never thought I'd see that this year. That's brilliant. A Mad Cake back where it belongs, up in the top end of the field, considering what they've gone through in the last 18 months. Dan Brewer is driving an absolutely spectacular battle. Great performance here, and he's in 5th position. I'm sorry, whether he gets this top 5 or not, for me, he is the driver of the day. I can't even debate that now. As strong as Siebel and Tyne have been at the front, as brave as Yuri Kasdorp was in the early stages, the driver of the day's got to go to Dan Brewer. He's just been absolutely incredible against all the odds, against anybody giving him that opportunity. He's been absolutely brilliant, and hopefully Dan Brewer will remain in that car for the rest of the season guaranteed, because he is about to triple their points tally in one race.
Of course, just seen Fidek actually going off top here, but Fidek spun it at the exit turn 1.
Oh yes, you're right.
He's down to P. I don't think he's lost any positions, but he just had a spin. You know, just get a bit of a break maybe or something like that. But you know,
and it's
been a long race, hasn't it?
The thing is, he just caught it wide on the exit of turn 1, drifted the car to the wetter part of the circuit, and then just spun it again. It's a very strange incident, and now Fidek goes off again, trying to get the car back up to speed. So this is just how tough it is in WTF1 Super League. Oh, and Jarl's gone wide. Jarl's gone wide at the last turn as well. So Jarl's gone wide. Now, I'm just watching back for a replay of it. But Jarl Tyron, desperately trying to catch up to Alex Siebel. He's pushed it too hard. He's made the mistake.
He has indeed, as they go through the first sector now. But
yeah, he's watching it again. Oh dear, Alex is going to get an absolutely free run here. Jarl Tyron pushing too hard in that final hairpin. And unfortunately, that is game, set and match for the 6th time this season. Surely for Alex Siebel, unless those tyres really do drop.
Well, it's 3 laps to go now, and the gap's what, 12.5 seconds. So you know he could push the car from here if he wanted to, Alex Siebel, and win this race. I think he can back right off now and just enjoy the chaotic race that it has been. You know, I said at the start of the broadcast. You know, it's going to be a bit like the 2006 race round here. Plenty of chaos, plenty of action. It's certainly lived up to that, hasn't it?
Do you know what I love about WTF1 Super League in 2018? And last year, when Rudy Van Buren got into the lead of a race, he would dominate. He would just stamp his authority and drive away and just crush the opposition. It almost became disheartening for the rest of the opposition last year. This year, Alex Siebel is definitely a champion in waiting. But every single race, he's had to work for it. He's never really been able to go out and dominate. He's controlled the pace. He's looked after the car. They've been smart on the pit wall. He's been incredibly exciting to watch this year. This is like watching a Hamilton-Vettel battle rather than Alain Prost just going out and dominating and running away. Siebel is just so cool, calm, collected, calculated. He looks at every opportunity for what it is. He reads the situation. He listens to the pit wall. This guy's got so much quality in spades, but he makes every single race a joy to watch.
Well, that's the great thing. Once you have an entertaining race, but once you not just raw pace, but put all the little things together in it, like strategy, teamwork, setup work, and obviously speed as well. When you get all that together, it does make for a more complete season, I think. You know, seeing every skill of a driver, not just blowing away the competition from the first lap to the last lap, but having to work for wins, having to fight for wins, having to outwit, outthink, outfought the other driver. So every aspect of the mind going on, as well as the raw pace. That really does make for a really special season, I think, rather than just blowing the competition away.
Yeah, it's really exciting to watch. I mean, last year was a good year for the Super League. Don't get me wrong. It was great to watch, even when, from time to time, and more often than not, you had Rudy Van Buren going out there destroying the opposition. Here in 2018, it is still an even playing field, but Siebel pushes the car just enough to maximize that little bit of extra performance. And ACR Zakspeed are vulnerable. We've seen it today. You know, Risto Caput has made mistakes trying to fight his way through from the back of the field. And to be fair to him, his fight back to sixth is still incredibly admirable. But we know that these guys are vulnerable. They are not the dominant force they were last year. They are still having to fight for every victory. But it's great to watch because we really do get edge of our seats motor racing as out onto the final turn and onto the main straight for the penultimate time comes Alex Siebel as he begins the final lap. This is an absolutely thrilling race, and I have to say, we've seen a lot of great races over the course of 2018 already from WTF1 Super League. You've only got to look at Catalunya. That was a really exciting one. Monaco was nail-biting to the end. Baku was particularly exciting in the first part of the season. Australia was absolutely heart-stopping. This is up there as one of the great pure races of WTF1 Super League for the last few years. This is the kind of race that Formula One fans are pleading Liberty Media to give them. This is exactly the kind of motor race people want. And WTF1 Super League, well, in 2018, every single time we go out to play, it's just delivering it in spades.
Oh, it's been a terrific season, hasn't it? Right from the first race of the season to obviously this one being the first one I'm commentating on this season as well. And I tell you, it's been an absolute pleasure from the first lap to the last. It's been
you passed an audition, mate. You're great. You're great.
It's just been from the first lap to the last lap. It's been absolutely amazing battles up and down the field. Cars coming from the back of the grid, you know, to the front. You've had cars doing a great job in qualifying that you don't expect to, but now let's give Alex Siebel his due. He's been absolutely first class today.
Out of the final turn, the victory comes for the 6th time in 2018 to ACR. It's Alex Siebel, who's won it in fantastic style. Brilliant racing. That's probably his best drive of the season. Terrific work. Jarl Tyne in second place. A heroic effort. And in third position for the Evolution team, a sensational performance again from Dennis Jordan. A very worthy podium. Fantastic display and a brilliant effort from Dennis. Great to see him in third place and a very successful podium run for him. Peter Burlak comes home in fourth place. Big points for Edge Esports today and a great result from them. Dan Brewer, though, comes home in 5th position for Mad Cape. That is a wonderful result for the team and for the championship. The team in dead last in the standings just brought their car home in 5th position. Dan Brewer's done a brilliant job today. He is my driver of the day. No one can take that away from him. He gets Tobias Olsen also in the points, going up alongside him. They are absolutely elated. What a result. 4 points from Olsen in 12th position. That was their previous tally. And now along comes Dan Brewer and gives them 11 more. That is absolutely terrific. Risto Caput in 6th place. Yuri Kasdorp, a very brave 7th. Yannick Bock in 8th position from David Fidek and David Francic, getting some very hard-earned points for Red Bull Street Fighter there in 10th position. Alex Cooper 11th for Nordian from Tobias Olsen. Dino Paolini in 13th. Fran Lopez is finally rewarded with 2 points for Red Archer. And Mark Hutchinson, after all of that, does bring the car home for a point for flag to flag after a very difficult race at the office for them. But what a race. What a brilliant race. The Hungarian Grand Prix in WTF1 Super League in 2018 gave us everything we wanted from that race and more.
Oh, it's amazing, wasn't it? Absolutely incredible race. You got, again, as you said, what was it, 9 teams in the top 10 on the grid? You got something like, well, I think it's 8 teams as well in the top 10 in the finish as well. It's just been an absolutely amazing day. Hasn't it? For everyone taking part, actually, it's obviously apart from people who've DNF for the race through unfortunate circumstances. What is that? 11 cars DNF from the race.
Yeah.
Wet, dry conditions. But the thing is, I'm really impressed with Dan Brewer. He obviously had the qualifying. He qualified really well, but he wasn't just quick in the wet. He was quick in the dry as well. And that's what, like, say, lap 30 to 70. It's basically pretty much a dry race. And he still kept the pace. He still kept the speed and consistency. And as you say, he's definitely, I think he's everyone's drive for the day, to be honest. If anyone decides to give it to anyone else, they haven't got a heart, basically, you know.
That was a heroic moment, a brilliant, brilliant drive. And that's one of the standout drives of the championship in the last few seasons as well, actually. That is it's horrible to say it because we don't really consider, and certainly traditionally have never really considered Mad Cape to be the Minardi of anything. They were running at the front at the beginning of last year, but this year they have had such a bad performance that it's ended up basically looking a little bit Minardi-esque. But what a fantastic performance to see Dan Brewer right up there in the top 5 on merit, and deservedly so. That was a superb job, really exciting racing, and an absolutely genius drive, and fair play to everybody within the team who really made that work beautifully. That was absolutely fantastic performance today. Really, really good from Dan Brewer.
That's amazing, wasn't it? So a great race. We're just going to start, recover from that, I think.
Well, actually, while we're talking about great races, full credit to David Francic as well in the top 10, coming into the Red Bull Street Fighter car that has not had a great season at all. And he managed to get a top 10 finish out of a car that, let's be fair, you could probably drive it just as fast backwards at times. It's not had the greatest of season runs, but what a great performance we've seen from both of those guys today. They really have put in a fantastic performance. And I kind of want to bring these guys in now to enjoy the moment because they really have put in a stellar performance. So let's get the drivers in from that race. And particularly, I think we should give our driver of the day the moment that he deserves, along with his team boss, Xavier de Carvalho. So we'll talk to them very shortly indeed. But it's been an absolutely fantastic run for them. We'll obviously talk to our podium finishers if we can as well. There seems to be already quite a few drivers getting themselves ready in the interview room. So let's see if we can bring in our team boss for Mad Cape, Xavier de Carvalho. Absolutely terrific performance. Really, really great job. And to be fair, that must feel like a victory with the season you guys have had.
Well, I mean, I did say in the article that, we hadn't really, the season hasn't really been a true reflection of what this team is supposed to be kind of capable of. I did mention or allude to the fact that we are a career ladder championship winning team down in Formula Challenge. So we definitely do have kind of the pedigree to be up front. And I think it was just a case of, perseverance, finding the right guys, obviously to gel together. And I think, Dan and Tobias did a great job, in the last couple of weeks over the summer break to really kind of, work hard at getting the car right. And also, just, massive props to Dan. It was an incredible drive.
Well, let's talk to the man himself, Dan Brewer, 5th position today. Really, really exciting battle. I mean, just talk us through the emotions of you and the team at the moment.
Yeah, pretty exciting. Sort of jumped in, not expecting much. We had a decent amount of time to prepare, but not as much as I'd like. I'm a pretty busy guy at the moment. But as soon as the rain started coming down, I knew it was an opportunity. And we just sort of decided to keep it safe, really, because obviously, as you said, Mad Cape has struggled this season. Maybe there was a bit more time on the table, but you're always going to say that. It's always ifs and buts, isn't it? So, yeah, fairly happy.
I have a feeling you're about to get busier somehow. I don't think that's going to be a one-off. Really excited. I mean, in the wetter stages of the race, when everyone was going for dries, I mean, that switch to mediums I mean, was that literally just a let's see what happens and see how far we get, or did you know that there was a genuine chance of the top 5?
To be honest, I didn't really know where I was at that point because I knew we were 4th early on. And it gets quite confusing when people are pitting all the time and going backwards and forwards, and then people are on different tires, and I just kept driving really. And then when it all settled down towards the end, when it actually dried out properly and everyone was on the tires they could be on for a while, then I could see sort of where I was and actually start pushing. But yeah.
Absolutely superb. And that's you came into the weekend, the team, Xavier, with 4 points on the board. You now walk away with 15 more. So that's absolutely brilliant and great to see you guys get yourselves up there. Is this now what we're going to see from the team for the rest of the season? Can you catch the guys ahead of you?
Yeah, I think so. Like I say, I didn't really mince my words in the article as well. I did kind of say, from a management perspective, we were lacking, and I think in the driver area as well, we weren't necessarily where we wanted to be. And I think, although Dan's on for a short term, we're really going to maximize his sort of worth to the team over the next, say, 4 rounds or so. He's been working really well with Tobias in practice. Tobias has really upped his game as well. He just made 1 or 2 mistakes today, which he's understood and he's working on. I think you can expect us to be up there again. Really, we're not really going to tolerate much less. Like I said earlier, for a career ladder championship winning team, we should really be at best, mid to top.
Fantastic. It was fantastic to watch today, guys. You were absolutely brilliant. And I think this is the birth of the Randy McScrandy era, at least for a few more weeks. Brilliant stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, Xavier De Carvalho and Dan Brewer, 5th position for the Mad Cape team today, and 12th for Tobias Olsen as well. Big credit to both cars. Well done, guys. Fantastic job.
Thanks very much.
No problem at all. So let's get a few more pleasantries from a few more drivers on headlines. I think it's time for a little bit of a celebration of sorts with the Red Bull Street Fighter team, who'll be breathing a sigh of relief after that one. We've got both the drivers in for this one. We'll start with a man who's supposed to be retired, the Croatian David Francic. You just can't stay away when a good offer's there, can you, mate?
Let's say urgent scenario where I had to fill in, and of course under the Red Bull name it's always easy choice to jump in.
And obviously being in the top 10 right from the start in terms of good qualifying performance, considering how difficult it was, car set up right from the start when everything was going well on lap 1, did the bug come back? Are you now back in the zone again for wanting to do this long term?
I'm not sure. I have to think a bit more. But yeah, a qual event. The rain came as a gift, as ordered, which was great. P7, and then I even managed to get 1 place at the start. So I was holding up on at P4 for some time. I was actually like, after a few laps, I didn't even realize that I was in P4. So I was it didn't felt like P4. So yeah, and I want to dedicate those points to Florian's father, who has some health issues. So I wish him all the best, and shout out to Red Bull for giving us great livery for this season, and looking forward to bring them better results than what we have so far.
Fantastic. A very nice tribute there indeed, David. Your teammate is in the Ben, a frustrating day for you. It looked as though we could have had 2 Red Bull Street Fighters in the points. Is this a bit of an upturn in fortune for the team now?
Yeah, let's hope so. We didn't have the greatest preparations. Obviously, we Flo was unable to attend, which we completely understand. So we drafted in our little superstar, co-manager of mine, to come in. Did a great job, as we knew he would. There's no doubts about that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. This relegation scraps kind of heated up a little. We've got Brewer, who is obviously a driver we know quite well. I personally was a teammate of his in 2016 for Green Stripes, so that could be an interesting rivalry to come back. But yeah, it's going to heat up. We've got David in the car for next race. Who's alongside him could be a surprise. but yeah, it's gonna let's hope we get these results more regularly now.
So basically, it is the resurgence of the Red Bull Street Fighter team. Good to see you guys both fighting for points again, and well done to David for getting that car into the top 10. Hopefully, we'll be talking to you after a lot more races in the future with positivity. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Brilliant stuff. So let's talk to a former champion in the WTF1 Super League. He got himself into the points once again. David Fidek having another difficult race at the office, but good to see him in the points. That was a very strange one, David, because at one point it looked like you were charging for the top 6. We thought you were going to get there. Then the wet patches caught you out. That was a race with so many peaks and troughs.
I just had a free shower. I'm good.
So, I mean, talk us through the race. It was a tricky race for everybody, but I guess for you guys at Nordsian, that was a logistical nightmare at times.
Do you know what? I feel, even though it was a poor result, I feel really good because I was just talking to Alex in the other chat in the waiting room, and he said his best Q was 18.5 in the dry, and we were doing 18.7, 18.8, so a few tenths off with the car we got. It's not too bad, but yeah, the race was ruined in quality. I come out the garage and everyone queued up, and I tapped Alex Siebel's front rear of the car, and I got a bit of damage. So I thought, oh, I better escape, fix my wing, go back out, and then everyone was like half a lap in front, and it's raining, and I'm like, oh crap! Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's just one of them races. But you know, the start was good. We were in the train. It looked from the map, it was from third down to where I was, third or fourth, maybe fifth, down to where I was. So it was all about, you know, getting the pit stop right. Yeah, I tried making a move on a couple of people and got on the damp patches and went wide and lost the place. It's like trying to push harder to get the place back, and then just the middle of the race going into the fast left-hander, caught my right wheel on the wet patch, spun me around and hit the wall, and then the car was just undrivable after that. There was no point, you know, trying to attack to get the places or time back, but you know, just at random times the car would just like oversteer, push me onto the wet stuff again, and yeah, it was hectic. And then I did a Kimi Räikkönen going into the pits, and I was just like, yeah, I give up, whatever. I just settled for this.
Oh man, I love listening to talk a race strategy, and you can talk us through one of your races, David, because you genuinely turn a 48-second stream of talking about a race into a 3-act play. I absolutely love it. It's fantastic. I mean, how close is that podium again for Nordsian? Because we can see that there are times in the season when it's close for you guys. You are getting that pace again, but just things in the race just seem to fall apart for whatever reason. Both you and Alex have had the pace, but the results just haven't come. What is it that you guys need to fix to get back in that position?
Like I said before the summer break, the updates were the main issue, which I, you know, held my hands up to. Will was asking me for, and I told him, and they were the wrong direction, and they were costing us a lot. We chucked on a big update on the diffuser over the summer, and I tested the Germany car in Budapest, and then like straight after I did this car, and it was 1 second quicker straight away, just with that one update. So yeah, we got another big update coming for Monza, which should max out the diffuser and weight. So it should put us right back up there. I mean, within the car now, we feel really good. The setups were an issue early part of the season, but now I think we are on it. But yeah, I don't want to get carried away, but yeah, it feels really good. But it's just those, like I said, in practice, like we were top 5, and like, you know, if it was a spot on lap, it would have been top 3, but the rain came. But yeah, there's exciting things to come towards the end, I hope, fingers crossed. But yeah.
Fantastic. It was really, really exciting to watch. You gave us some great entertainment out there. So thank you very much indeed. Well done, David Fidek.
Cheers, bud.
Right, let's grab the man in second position in the Hungarian Grand Prix. Exciting battles from this man all the way through. Let's talk to Jarl Tyen, twice winner over the course of the season and so nearly a third win today. Jarl, amazing drive. I mean, talk us through that battle with Alex. I mean, there was always a chance you could have beaten him today, and obviously that final pit stop. The question I have to ask, I mean, are you ruining that decision, or was that the right decision?
That was definitely the wrong decision. But yeah, this race was a lot of what could have been. The crucial mistake for the race was definitely at the end. Originally, I was planning or my idea was to maybe take the super softs and go to the end, and instead of the ultras. But then I realized Siebel was going to go to the end, and I was considering it myself. But since I was already kind of committed with the ultra at the end, it would have been really difficult to carry it out. But I think at the end of the day, that would have been faster, even staying out than pitting. But yeah.
I mean, we've got to look from the positives of it. I mean, in terms of the battle, gave Alex Siebel a hard time today. He was obviously under pressure. You were under pressure, but you had him beaten psychologically. It was only that last real throw of the dice that you guys came out behind. But in terms of the points you guys have made up, I mean, you are now only 6 points behind Capit in the Drivers' Championship. You could be, second by the time we come out of Spa next time.
Oh yeah, we definitely bagged a lot of points this race. But the racer spirit. I always want to win. But yeah, there was a lot of mistakes, a lot of traffic. The back markers really didn't do their job today, in my opinion. I don't know. It's kind of crazy to only finish 9 seconds behind Siebel, considering I spun and the traffic, and me touching the wet track several times on dries. Losing 2 seconds here, 2 seconds there. I don't know. Second is okay, I guess.
I guess it's a tough race considering that, but in terms of the way from solution, it's cementing this second place in the championship. But I guess from now on in, the team's focus is if we win every time, we might be able to catch them.
That's definitely the goal. I feel like second place is we're pretty solid second place right now, and we're gonna put all our effort into catching ACR, and for the drivers, catching Siebel.
Okay, we were looking forward to seeing that fight because at the moment the gap is, I'm trying to do my math very quickly, it's 59 points, and that is achievable. That is still a very good gap. But in 9 races, you can definitely get that back. So we're really excited for this second half of the season. Jarl, congratulations on second, and we're looking forward to seeing you next time at Spa. Well done, buddy.
Thank you, Jake.
So let's talk to the man who is on the top step of the podium for the 6th time this season after Baku, Catalonia, Montreal, Red Bull Ring, and Silverstone here at the Hungaroring. Probably the hardest race of them all to win this year. Alex Siebel is the winner for the 6th time out of 11 races. Alex, I think you've only just about come down from that. That's got to be the toughest of races to win this year. That took you right to the wire.
Yeah, it was really tough all the time. I think also congratulations to Jarl, because I think today he was a little bit quicker than me. But yeah, I had at some points in the race and also, of course, in the qualifying a bit luck, and that it went out with a win again. It's of course amazing.
Especially after the disappointments of Hockenheim losing advantage there. This is going to be a close title fight now, and obviously with Jarl getting closer, it looks like you guys are going to have to be on your A game. Is that more enjoyable than perhaps just going out and dominating? Are you finding that the wins are more satisfying when it's closer?
I think it was close the whole season. I don't think it has changed a lot, but all the races were more or less tight. But I had more or less luck at some points. So it doesn't change anything. It's quite enjoyable as it was at Australia and everywhere else. So at this point, it didn't change, but it's quite enjoyable to beat the fastest guys around here.
So this second half of the season, obviously there's some big tracks coming up. We've got the likes of Spa, we've got Monza. There are some really, really exciting battles to win here. I mean, do you think you guys can stay consistently strong over Edge for the remainder of the season, or is this going to be a really close title fight?
I think we are have quite the same pace, so it will be tough from the race, but for each race. But we still have some points gap, so I hope we can cover it until the end. But yeah, it will be a close fight at every round, I guess.
Fantastic. It was amazing to watch. I think everybody who's watched the stream tonight has made the right decision. You really gave us a great show, everybody. Thank you to Jarl Tyen, and thank you to Alex Siebel, race winner and second place. Fantastic performance, Alex, and congratulations on your 6th win of the season.
Thank you.
So that concludes the show, other than to give you the update in the driver and team standings. Of course, in the Teams Championship, it is ACR Zakspeed who moved to 337 points at the top of the table, with Edge Esports there in second place. Epic Racing in third place from Evolution in fourth, and Hawkeye still in contention in fifth position, but with a long way to go. There's still plenty of teams that can get up to that top 5. Driver standings, well, Alex Siebel is now on 190 and very close to the second century. Risto Capit is now just 6 points ahead of Jarl Tyne, who is catching very quickly. Peter Burlak comes up to fourth place. Jeff Fournier's DNF with an engine failure leaves him down in fifth in the standings. It's getting to be a very critical time of the season. David Carter, we've got so many great races to come. Fournier dropping to fifth from third. The two Edge Esports drivers are definitely catching up to the rest of the field now, and it's looking very, very even and very close indeed between the top 2 teams in the market. It's going to be a very exciting run for the remainder of this season.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of amazing races to come. Obviously, the two you just mentioned, there's Spa and Monza coming up. 2 fantastic races. Obviously, got tracks like Suzuka, Interlagos as well to come later on in the season as well, for example. So you got some tremendous races to come. You got to obviously got to see what the development race is today, going into the next races as well. See where the teams go with that as well. I'd say biggest loser today for sure team wise is definitely Epic.
Yeah,
they lost up big double DNF. Fournier's engine failure as well with the fresh engine as well. It's a major blow for their season, I think, and I can't see them really recovering too well unless other things happen around them as well. And obviously got some big winners in the, what you could say, in the season for Street Fighter and Madcape as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Dan Brewer and David Francic, the heroes of the hour here, to home in the top 10 under very difficult circumstances in 2018. Great to see them score some big points today. I think it's between Brewer and Francic for driver of the day. Brewer just edging it for me because they could have stretched those medium tires to the end. I've just heard from Xavier de Carvalho, Brewer probably could have gone to the end of the race. He just didn't want to gamble that lower percentage of the tire life. So that could have been a podium today very easily.
Oh, for sure. It's a risk that you take, though. I mean, you could see why he took that risk, low tire and everything. Looking back now, does he regret that? Maybe, I don't know, but still an amazing result for the team. I think I'm just looking at the championship standings myself now, 7 rounds to go. Very tight between Capit, Tyne, Burlak, Fournier there as well. Obviously, Siebel's got that comfort zone. And then you look at the teams as well. You got Epic there dropping back a little bit, going to clutches now of Evolution Motorsports there as well. What's that? 29 points between them as well. So it's very, very exciting. And I say 2 weeks' time now, Spa-Francorchamps, going to be exciting for everyone.
I can't wait. It's going to be absolutely amazing. David Carter, thank you so much for joining me on the broadcast tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure, and hopefully we'll do it again.
Fingers crossed. I hope I haven't wound anyone up or deafen them anyway.
You've done a great job, mate. It's been absolutely fantastic. Well, what an amazing show WTF1 Super League in 2018 has given us at the Hungarian Grand Prix. A mano-a-mano dogfight between Alex Siebel and Jarl Tyne, going the way of the German this time, but it looks like in weeks to come, it's going to be closer for the title race than it's ever been before. Some big heroes in the likes of Dan Brewer and David Francic. Some losers as well, but there's plenty of time to fight back. And it's still the best sim racing show in the Grand Prix virtual universe. GPVWC hits back again with WTF1 Super League. We're big, we're back, and we're absolutely ballistic. I'm Jake Stanton. We'll see you again in 2 weeks' time for more of the same from Spa-Francorchamps.
To keep up to date with the latest GPVWC videos, click on the subscribe button, or check out more of our exciting sim racing action by choosing a video. For more information on the league, visit gpvwc.com.